All right, guys, so we are now over to the Nvidia earnings stream. Kind of a fun stream we had. Now let's go ahead and switch everything. We are now at the Nvidia earnings stream. Nvidia earnings hit soon. Expectations sky high following their last record quarter. I'm trying to remember the market reaction we got from this. I'm trying to remember the market reaction we got from this. Let's put Nvidia up here, shall we? Let's take a look at it. Here's Nvidia right here on the right side. Let me know if redirect worked. It should have worked beautifully. Did redirect work? I'm pretty sure it did. Hey, what's up, chat? Okay, let me put a timer up. Here's Nvidia. Whoa, I'm floating over here. Hey. Yeah, we got the dollar index. You can see Nvidia, man, just ripping up after the FOMC minutes report. All right, cool. Redirect worked. Nice. Do me a favor, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, chat. We appreciate the love. Nvidia quarter one earnings coming soon. We got about an hour and 20 minutes until this report, but hey, we're gonna cover it like we always do. Where's my timer? There it is. There's the timer right there. Again, Nvidia's been making some moves all morning, though. Look at this. See, I still have the FOMC stream up. Hold on, let me reset this. There we go. All right, that's over. All right, so let's do a poll. Are you bullish or bearish on today's? Does Nvidia beat or miss their quarter earnings? Beats, miss. And we're going to talk about all the summaries, economic projections. Let's do it. All right, so let's talk about the main stories for today's Nvidia earnings report. All right, so Nvidia is set to report its quarter one 2025 earnings today, Wednesday, May 28th. Revenue is expected at just around 43 billion for the quarter, just around 43 billion. This 43 billion for quarter one. This marks a 66% year-over-year increase. Adjusted EPS expected to be anywhere between 73 and 88 cents. 73 and 88 cents. You want to pay attention to data center revenue. It's expected to be around 21.27 billion, driven by demand from major tech companies investing in AI like Amazon and Apple and Meta and all these other companies that are buying chips, basically, for their AI systems. Like Meta has Llama, so forth. China export restrictions. This is a big story of today's earnings, is the H2O chip restrictions from China. The U.S. government's banning Nvidia's H2O chip sales to China has led to a $5.5 billion write-down in inventory. So again, almost $6 billion write-down from the ban of H2O chips to China. Quarter two guidance concerns. Analysts anticipate potentially downward revisions in quarter two revenue, possibly to be around 41 billion due to ongoing trade restrictions and reduced share of the Chinese market. The introduction of the new Blackwell architecture might impact margins in the near term as the company ramps up production. And so we might have a little bit worse margins short term. You want to listen to global partnerships with Nvidia. Nvidia has announced big deals, including a $40 billion agreement with Oracle and a major partnership with Saudi Arabia, highlighting its effort to diversify its customer base beyond traditional tech. The upcoming Blackwell GPU architecture expected to drive future growth, though, positioning Nvidia at the forefront of AI. And so that's a big story of the day. Investor sentiment, of course. Nvidia stock is up 25% over the past 30 days, reflecting optimism Analysts are projecting 150 to 160 price targets, which would be over the all-time high. At least the 160 level would be. Option markets are pricing in expected post-earnings move of implied volatility of 8%, suggesting volatility from the earnings. That is what we got today. And yeah, we're going to check the EPS and revenue graph and all that stuff coming out pretty soon here, chat, so stick around. Nvidia has had a pretty good day since the opening bell. It broke the pre-market high shortly after the Fed minutes report came out. So yeah, so we're going to post all this on Twitter and X, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so there are Nvidia deals, including 40 billion Orca deal. I'm going to listen for updates on that too, for sure. Alright guys, so we're going to make sure we get this post out for X.com as well. Dollar index is up there. Let's take a look at gold. Gold's still down there at 3,324. Nvidia will short squeeze up the all-time highs. Looking at our poll number, 72% think they're going to beat here. 29% think they're going to miss. All right, so we just put that recap of all the metrics and stuff to watch on our X page at Beginner Trades. At Beginner Trades. Let me edit this a little bit here, actually. Get some space there, space there, space there. Okay, there we go. All right, so again, 42.28. Let's take a look at their revenue graph for Nvidia. Or no, I'm sorry, the EPS graph. Take a look at their margin. So today they're expecting, what, 75 to 85 cents. You know, people can say whatever they want about Nvidia as a company. But when you take a look at their graphs here, last time they showed up at what? 89-cent EPS. You know, I'm hoping they're setting the bar low for today, but I think it's, I think this might be the first decrease in growth that we've seen in a while, because like, look, if their last EPS was 89 cents and they're expecting 75 to 85 cents today, we're going to need a pretty big beat to beat last time's. Now, seasonality does play a factor here, and I think you got to include seasonality here. This is quarter one. Their last quarter one showed up at 49 cents. And so in terms of growth, we're going to grow a lot relative to quarter one, 2024. But, you know, one thing that we've seen from Nvidia, and I guess this makes sense because we led into quarter four, is that we've seen consecutively higher and higher EPS readings. Now, maybe we get that today. If we get over 89, if we get into the 90 cent plus EPS range today, that's going to be incredibly optimistic and bullish for Nvidia, I think, right? You never freaking know. But it looks like quarter one is going to decrease a little bit, but it's still much better than in quarter one 2024. Let's take a look at their revenue graphs here. All right, so here's their revenue. Looking at the same metrics here. Their revenue, they're expecting, what is it, 43 billion? So their revenue is expected to improve. So they might show up here, you know, for their revenue for Q1. So even though the last quarter was Q4, they're expecting even more revenue, which is an optimistic thing. And I would say in terms of like what evokes the biggest reaction to Nvidia, I would say it's usually revenue. Like revenue is typically the bigger reaction metric that we get. Like revenue is usually a little bit more important. So last Nvidia had record growth and then turned over, which led to the downturn of the broad market. Yeah, I mean, people are strict with Nvidia, meaning the last Nvidia earnings, we had good numbers, good EPS, good revenue. I think we had good guidance as well, and the market Nvidia negatively reacted to it. But the nuance of this is that the upward moves, it's a buy the rumor, sell the news event in earnings. Not just Nvidia, but generally with earnings, people are looking at buy the rumor, sell the news situation. And so with earnings, people are more interested in buying up the optimism that we get leading into the earnings report. And then once we get a good reading, they take profit and we dip a little bit. I wish earnings were as easy as just kind of sitting around waiting for a good EPS, good revenue, and good guidance print. Everybody would be rich if that was the case. They just sit around waiting for good metrics to report and click buy and ride off into the sunset, Warren Buffett. Unfortunately, it's not like that. And unfortunately, we get good EPS, good revenue, good guidance, and a 5% drop, right? So I wish it was that easy with earnings. Unfortunately, it's not. And you can never be too safe. People get really confident around earnings, but it's super variance heavy. Like, they could do anything, man. You don't know what they're going to do. Will the report be good or bad, guys? Let me know. Put good or bad in chat. Let me know what you guys think. Good or bad in chat. Let me know. We got about an hour. I started the stream a little bit earlier, but hey, we're here, you know. We had like 5,000 people there for Nvidia or for the Fed minutes report. So thank you guys, man. I appreciate it. That's a big showing for the Fed minutes report, for me at least. I appreciate you guys. Honestly, my throat hurts right now. Like, I got bow and arrow choked yesterday at jiu-jitsu. My throat freaking. Honestly, I genuinely thought I was sick for like a day. I've been taking cough drops. Like, man, you know. Nope, just tapped too late. At least I didn't go out. I had a guy go out once to a bow and arrow choke. It's almost traumatized me from it. He should have tapped, and he just didn't. And like, I was a white belt at the time, and he was a purple belt. He definitely should have tapped, but he went out, and he went out. I had to like wake him up. It was not good. I got a guy in another bow and arrow choke a couple weeks ago, and he didn't tap. But like, I let it go and looked at him and said, "Hey, are you okay?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And so, I don't like it. I've gone to sleep as the instructor's dummy with it. I'll talk about jiu-jitsu all day. I'm a jiu-jitsu nerd for sure. But yeah. Why is the micro NASDAQ crashing? Let's take a look. Something just happened. So this could be related to U.S. stuff. So Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov informs U.S. Secretary of State Rubio of preparation of concrete proposals to resolve the Ukrainian conflict. Their defense minister says he handed over Ukrainian version of memorandum to head of Russian delegation. Russia continues to delay delivery of their version. Apple is planning software rebrand with year names. I'm trying to look up news that might cause this drop. Let me see if we got any other stuff. The only big news that I see dropping right now is let me look at social media. Hold on. Okay, so the president tweeted 3 minutes ago. And it wasn't a tweet, it was a different social media post, but he said something a couple minutes ago. He said, I am pleased to announce that the U.S. ambassador to Turkey, Tom Barrack, will be serving as our envoy to Syria. Tom understands there's great potential in working with Syria to stop secure world peace, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, apparently, like, Truth is shut down right now because so many people are trying to access it to see what's going on. But he said something, I'm guessing, here, and the NASDAQ didn't like what he said. Brent crude futures settled. It's probably the Ukraine stuff, but it's hard to tell. Let me look up Nvidia. Let me exit out of some stuff here. I have to go to a different browser here. I think it's the president saying something. Or it could be the Ukraine stuff. All right, market bounced all the way back though. Look at this. All right, so a controversial Constitution pipeline project is about to be revived according to Wall Street Journal, and it is WMB. Anybody know what drove this move? Yeah, I don't really see anything. Could be the Russian news. Treasury yields spiking up. Yeah, so let's take a look at Treasury yields. All right, a huge rebound back up. No big news is showing up to justify this move here. All right, guys, so we got the NASDAQ all the way back up here. It could be, it has to be the overseas conflict news. Could be oil related, but I don't think so. Taking a look at bond yields. And again, just to give you guys some interesting perspectives here. So like I know we got some Nvidia people here today, but if you want to understand economics, understand yields and bond prices and their correlation with other things, right? Like, so here's bond yields. We've seen a spike in yields. So one of the most important correlations to understand is that yields and interest rates, especially mortgages, tend to parallel and follow each other. So if yields are higher, it means a higher interest rate sentiment. If yields are lower, it means a lower interest rate sentiment. It has to do with bond prices, and the other big correlation is that bond prices and yields inverse each other. So if bond prices go down, yields go up, right? So this yield spike that we're seeing here recently is from bond prices getting sold off. You know, like an example of this is Moody's a week and a half ago downgraded the U.S. credit rating agency. So they basically said U.S. bonds are less valuable, or less trustworthy is a better word for it. And the consequence is people sold off bonds and yields spiked from that Moody's news, right? So if you can understand those correlations as well as like the interest rate correlation, it becomes easier to track things. But anyways, NASDAQ came all the way back up here. Look at this move. Again, here's Nvidia. The high of the last few days is 137.40. We're at 136.90. So we're about 50 cents away from the high of the last. This is the last time we were up here. February. So we're getting close to February highs in Nvidia. We're right at 137. The highs of the last few. 3-4 months, or 137.40s. And we're at 137s basically right now. Nasdaq has come all the way back up. Where does Nvidia open tomorrow, chat? Could be a late reaction to minutes, although I don't think so. I think any big money that's going to react to the minutes report is going to be using summarizations like I use to gauge everything quickly. So basically, they wouldn't react that late to it. TLT is fine. TLT's not down. TLT's flat, mostly. TLT's 20-year bond prices. Yields are going to do the opposite, but here's TNX, which is 10-year yields. You see, yields are coming down. Yields haven't really moved. They're coming down a little bit. I don't know what that drop was, to be honest, but it's a big candle. Big string of candles, but still a pretty sideways range, all things considered. Here's Nvidia. Again, Nvidia's getting pretty close. Highs of the day are 137.25. That's about 15 cents away from the high of the last 3 months. When did you get your blue belt? I don't know. Somebody told me it was 6 months ago. I can't believe it's been that long. I think it was probably like 4 months ago. Yeah, I invest long term for sure. I think investing is the biggest statistical edge markets ever give you. And so if you're not DCAing into indices or something long term, you don't really understand the biggest edge markets give you. I think there's a lot of gamblers, and you can day trade, and day trading can be a powerful skill, but you gotta understand investing, dollar cost averaging. Like, this biggest statistical edge is that the longer you sit on blue chip indices, the greater the chances to make money. It's one of the reasons I tell people that are like shorting the market long term, it's one of the dumbest sucker bets you could ever do. Because, like, I could buy, an example, I could buy Nvidia right now. And again, I'm not an investment professional, no freaking idea what's going to happen, can't guarantee anything. But I could buy Nvidia right now and hold it. If I hold it long enough, eventually Nvidia is going to be higher than where I bought it, almost certainly. It's never 100%, it's pretty freaking up there. If I short Nvidia right now, the longer I hold that short position, the less likely I am to make money. And so that's a bad edge. I don't want to get involved with a trade like that. If I'm going to short something, I'm going to get in and out really, really quickly. I'm not going to sit on it long term. And some of the most angry, like, aggro traders are ones that are shorting the healthiest assets in the world, and they're mad about it. And so I just try to avoid that. I appreciate it. Thank you. Mopar, I go live every day. Is the music loud, bro? People were complaining that, saying it wasn't loud enough. Like, I'm trying. Hey, man. Hey, don't walk on stream. What's up, dude? How you doing, bro? Can you have $20?
No, like in game money, please.
All right.
Alright, love you, Daddy.
Love you. I guess I'll give him $20. I'm a pushover dad. I know it. I love my kids. I want them to be happy, but... My son's gotten really good at jiu-jitsu, man. So, like, him and I did drills where he would throw the triangle lock, and then armbar me. And I made him do it over and over and over again because he would go to class and just get beat up. And so I was like, look, you're gonna learn this armbar, diamond lock armbar, over and over and over again. We did it like 50 times. I also showed him a Kimura from side control, as well as how to pull the ankle and lock in, like step on the ground, pull the ankle, lock in the triangle. And like he went to class this past weekend, and dude, the kid's a really nice guy. The kid's dad's really nice, but he just did really well. I told him, I was like, if you want to play video games today, you need one tap, you know. And he went out there and just, you know, he did great. I'm proud of him, but I think I went around that the wrong way. But it's all right. I'm proud of him. Anyways, Nvidia back down. The biggest stories of Nvidia today, chat. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the big stories of the day. Nvidia expected at 43 billion. The big thing that I have with this is that the range of the EPS for Nvidia earnings today is pretty broad. It's between 73 and 88 cents a share. Now this is quarter one. Typically we go down a little bit. Like you got to think of it in terms of what's the hottest season for sales. Typically the fall season, you know, October, November, December, busiest months. And that's typically with most companies. That's usually when they have the best results. They have the highest revenue. They have the best margins. We're seeing that a little bit here, especially with EPS margins, but revenue is expected to increase regardless. Last time it was like 35 billion. Today they're expecting 43 billion for revenue, marking a 66% increase. The EPS range is 73 to 88 cents. It's a little broad for me, but data center revenue is what you want to pay attention to. Expected to be around 21.27 billion, driven by demand for tech companies like AI, and they're investing in AI infrastructure like Meta's Llama, so forth. You know, what their CapEx. We've seen a lot of increases in CapEx for AI investments in companies like Meta, Microsoft, Google. And so we're going to listen to the back end of that here in today's earnings call, of course. So it's something you want to pay attention to. The other big story is how significant is going to be the ban of H2O chips to China. You know, so again, the U.S. government notoriously banned Nvidia's H2O chip sales to China. It's led to a almost $6 billion write-down for Nvidia, 5.5 billion. This is a major talking point for today's earnings. We'll see if they become more optimistic around this stuff. Quarter two guidance, another thing to focus on today. Analysts anticipating potential downward revisions in quarter two. If they do, it could cause drops, possibly to around 41 billion is what they're thinking. Ongoing trade restrictions, tariffs, reduced market share in China are the justifications for this. Again, Nvidia's announced a bunch of deals that you want to pay attention to. $40 billion deal with Oracle, major partnerships with Saudi Arabia. Pay attention to those. The upcoming Blackwell GPU architecture, another big event for today. The Blackwell GPU architecture is expected to drive growth, you know, helping Nvidia. Nvidia is up 25%. Here's the thing, though. I think Nvidia is going to need to really perform in their earnings to have a positive reaction. Nvidia is already up 25% over the past month. 25%. Investors are more optimistic than ever for Nvidia. It's close to its all-time highs. It's about to test all-time highs right now. If it can break this high and get up another 15 cents. Not all-time highs, I'm sorry. It's about to test the highs of the last 3 months now. If it can get over this. Again, it's at 137.40. So right here is the high of the last 3 months since February, mid-February, right here. All right, so that's the level right there, 137.40s. 137.40s. We'll see if we hit it or not. Options are pricing in 8% implied volatility for today. We'll see if we do that. Candace says, hey, I've never traded stocks before and wanted to buy some S&P, but I see an option to buy, accumulate, or distribute. I'm looking to hold them long term. What would you recommend? I'm a total noob. I'm going to put this out there first. I'm not an investment professional. I have no freaking idea what I'm talking about. I might be wildly wrong about anything I say. Do not copy me. I'm not an investment professional. I'm not liable if you lose money. Always make your own assessment. Trade responsibly. Can't guarantee anything. Understand all this stuff on screen. Understand CFTC 4.41. Remember, I might be terrible and have no idea what I'm talking about. So just understand all this stuff on screen. With that said and out the way, if you want to buy the S&P 500, if you buy futures, the contract's going to roll over quarterly. That's not really what you want to do. You probably want to buy an index. Now, there's multiple different... So the S&P 500, you can't buy it directly. You have to buy an index of it. And so you can't just buy the S&P 500. You have to buy... The S&P 500 is just 500 of the largest companies grouped together in an index. In order to buy it, you need to... I would research and figure out one that makes the most sense for your situation. There's a lot of them. There's the Vanguard. There's a lot of different S&P 500. There's the SPY, the SPY. If you want a little bit more tech-heavy ETF, there's the Q. There's all these different options for it. I would just research S&P 500 index with low fees. Type that into Google, see which one you like, and then buy it. If you want to accumulate over time, that's probably going to be fine as well. But getting started just buying it first, I think, makes the most sense personally. But chat, let me know what you guys think. Any recommendations on understanding economics and how everything correlates, bonds, stocks, mortgages, rates, and so on? I kind of have a grasp, but hopefully you know a good YouTube video. I mean, it depends on how much you want to understand economics or whether you want to understand economic policy. Economics is a very broad subject. Economic policy is a little bit more consolidated towards what we're doing here. But I mean, I could try to break it down, but okay, so the Fed wants to maintain balance. Okay, and this is economic policy, but Fed wants to maintain balance. If inflation's a risk, they'll get restrictive, and they will raise interest rates to try to push the economy down a little bit, because when interest rates are worse or higher, people tend to spend less, businesses expand less because they have less leverage to do so because of worse rates. And so in general, people spend less, businesses expand less, and this can combat inflation. If it's a more desperate thing to bring inflation down, they can do QT, which is just the Fed stops injecting liquidity into the bond market and ultimately lets their balance sheet run off and mature. Most of the time it's passive QT, which is letting their balance sheet mostly filled with bonds and MBSs. They just kind of let those mature and run off their balance sheet. Direct QT would just be if they started just unloading their bonds, like straight up selling their bonds, which is a more rare, much more desperate thing that you don't see that much. But that's one end of it. That's a hawkish Fed, a restrictive Fed. That's basically just trying to push the economy down a little bit to combat inflation. The other side's a dovish Fed, where they want to bring interest rates down to stimulate the economy, because when interest rates are good, businesses expand, they hire more people, people tend to spend more because they have cheaper access to leverage, and ultimately it just causes stimulation in the economy through higher spending and expansion of the labor market. Again, a more desperate thing there is quantitative easing, which is the Fed buys up a bunch of bonds and MBSs, and this injects liquidity and ultimately helps bring interest rates down in a faster, more profound way. But the consequence of that is inflation. So the more money printing you do, the worse inflation gets. Bonds and mortgages correlate with it through interest rates. The rate that the Federal Reserve is changing is called the federal funds rate. It directly influences short-term interest rates, like home equity lines of credit, adjustable rate loans and mortgages, because those are the rates that are being adjusted, is the short-term rates. But eventually it'll trickle into everything else, either directly or indirectly. But there is a lag to it, so it takes a little bit of time. And that's economic policy 101. But But yeah. Yeah, paper trading, if you're learning to day trade, probably the better move. All right, Nvidia getting a little volatile here, chat. Getting a little volatile. Look at this bounce. We're right around all-time highs here for Nvidia, and it's dragging the Nasdaq and other stuff up with it. But all right, so look at Nvidia. It's still testing these highs. It wants to get up there. Let me look at our poll numbers here. We got a couple things on X as well. Trump orders U.S. chip designers to stop selling to China, according to Financial Times. Okay, so again, this is breaking news. The president ordering U.S. chip designers to stop selling to China. All right, so again, the U.S. president ordered U.S. chip designers to stop selling to China, according to Financial Times report. Again, the administration has told U.S. companies that offer software used to design semiconductors to stop selling their services to Chinese groups. Several people familiar with the move said the Commerce Department told electronic design automation groups, Cadence, Synopsys, and others to stop supplying their technology to China. Commerce Department officials said it was reviewing exports of strategic significance to China. They said, quote, in some cases, Commerce has suspended existing export licenses or imposed additional license requirements while the review is pending, said a Commerce Department official. While it accounts for a relatively small share of overall semiconductors, EDA software allows chip designers and manufacturers to develop and test next-gen chips, which is a huge part of the supply chain. We're seeing some negative reactions to this in Nvidia here. You can see Nvidia breaking down. It's at 136.70s. So it was right around the highs of the day, but kind of broke down from it. We got 40 minutes left. Yeah, people asking me whether they should buy or sell, buy puts, sell puts. I genuinely have no idea what you should do. Just be careful. Yeah, Nasdaq's starting to turn down a little bit on this report. Like, you can kind of see like the NQ here, like where this came out. Like, look at this drop in the Nasdaq here from this mostly. Now Nvidia earnings are coming in, so you know we still got time, but yeah. What would be the impact on Bitcoin regarding what? From what, the chip news or Nvidia? Nasdaq's trying to get higher though. Let's see if it creeps up. All right, so we're very flat here, dude. We are like hyper choppy in markets. Let's see if Nvidia starts to creep back up. Timing's impeccable. Yeah. We're very choppy right now, bro. We still got like 40 minutes, give or take, until this report drops, but we're so sideways right now. Like, I'm kind of shorting in my Top Step account here. Like, we got 10 contracts. We're up 700 on the day, give or take. But, like, look at the range here. It's kind of so tight right now. I want to see if we break down, but, man. Yeah, so I'm kind of just... Look at this. We're going to just cut that there. That looks good. I've heard a lot of people saying it's going to drop what? Yeah, market's going to be stagnant right now. I mean, it's going to be kind of boring. There's a lot, like, big money understands that the IV for today and Nvidia earnings is like 8%. And so they're not really interested in getting heavily involved with anything right now, I think. They're too worried about taking big size now. And so what this causes leading into these big earnings reports is choppiness. We get choppiness. All right, sorry, my wife called. Nvidia's gonna drop in price. I don't feel it. What makes you think that? Yeah, I'm not saying nobody knows, but I'm saying I don't. All right, I'm checking it right now. Do we have a ban? Let me see, man. Pawn's telling me to look at somebody. I need to get like a scroller here. Hold on. Yeah, I'm looking for it, but it's hard to tell. I can't explain why I don't think it'll drop. It's just the airfield is different. I mean, it depends on what happens, right? Like, I think, again, you got to take the context of Nvidia earnings. We're up 25% in a month. With that, you got to just be really careful with this one, because I think the range for EPS is big, meaning unless we come in wildly over the EPS expected at 90 cents or more, I think it's going to be hard for that aspect of it to make Nvidia go up. The revenue is expected to do pretty good at 43 billion, and that's an important metric. But again, Nvidia is already up a lot, and sometimes earnings can be buy the rumor, sell the news type stuff. So we just got to be careful and just be smart, be careful, try not to lose too much, and we'll have to see what happens. Guidance is obviously going to be key, and we're going to cover it live as soon as it drops, so just be careful. The range is so small here, though. Like, I'm shorting, but Final Mag 7 to walk the gauntlet. Yeah, I mean, Nvidia's always kind of separated itself from others in that way. Yeah, I mean, I did a poll. 73% of people think we're going to beat, so we'll see. Nasdaq's still breaking down. Nvidia is basically completely flat though, like boring. All right, so Jack Dorsey's block is going to launch Bitcoin Lightning payments on all Square terminals. Again, the president has ordered U.S. chip designers to stop selling to China. We talked about that a couple minutes ago. The Trump administration told companies that offer software used to design these semiconductors to stop selling their services to Chinese groups. All right, guys, Nvidia finally breaking out of that range, starting to head back up here. So again, 137.25 is the high of the day. We got 137.40 as the high of the last 3 months. So we're pretty close to it. How did GameStop get the rug pull? Yeah, I mean, GameStop is down a lot. It didn't hold. It bought up a bunch of Bitcoin. Bitcoin pulled back. But I don't know. I don't know why it's down. There's no Fed meeting today. Yeah, he might be using it as a bargaining chip. We'll see. I don't know if that means that the deals with China are going well, though, is the problem. I think it reflects negatively on the deals that might potentially happen with them. Market is incredibly flat waiting Nvidia earnings here. Let's put Nvidia charts up, but we're going to put like a longer term trend. Kind of show, like, here's a 30-minute chart. We're at the very top of the range, and you can kind of see the range we've been in. You know, this is the top and bottom of the range here, so we're pretty stagnant and sideways, but Nvidia earnings is a big report. We got 30 minutes left into the closing bell. Van said some positive things regarding Bitcoin too. I'm surprised Bitcoin's not up more. I thought we had some good crypto news over the last couple, like the last 6 hours. So people are worried about the big beautiful bill as well. Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite swing trading strategies is just looking for blue chip stocks to overreact to catalysts and then buying up those dips. That's usually, honestly, not a bad strategy. Like buying up those dips. Yeah, just Arnie. Do not ever send anybody money. They might pretend to be an investment professional. Just don't send anybody money, Arnie. A-R-N-E. I see you talking to some other dude. They might ask for money. They might claim to be an investment professional. They might promise big returns. But never send anybody money. They're going to steal it from you. Usually they'll promise like crazy gains in crypto. And then like gullible people kind of fall for it, no offense. And then they talk them into sending them boatloads of money, promising returns, and then they just never send it back. And because it's crypto, it's somewhat protected from all the other stuff, so people get stuck with it. Yeah, I see these scams a lot, brother. I see, like the WhatsApp scams are bad, and since I do YouTube, like I'm just kind of used to these scams. The WhatsApp scams are not good, but I've known some people that fall for these. Like more people fall for these scams than you realize. I am never gonna do it, but I've seen people that have, and I feel for them. Usually they're naive to finance. Yeah, just don't send anybody money. What will happen if the results are low and the expectations are good? What? We had some morning earnings today. What do we have? Let me scroll down. We had DKS, flat, EPS, better than expected revenue. Abercrombie & Fitch, BDPS, beat revenue. Macy's, BDPS, beat revenue. VNet, missed EPS, missed revenue. BMO, flat EPS, beat revenue. A couple other ones, but Abercrombie & Fitch, still one of the sketchiest companies in the world. Like, I grew up wearing Abercrombie & Fitch, but I go into Abercrombie & Fitch now, just curious. Like, you used to walk in there and there would be cologne and collared shirts and techno music with like, you know, you go in there. Now you go in there and there's like fishnet see-through t-shirts. You know what I mean? It's just not my style. I'm not judging. Live your life. But I'm not about to buy it. And nobody's ever in there. I don't even see employees in the Abercrombie store. Like, I walk in there, I don't even see anybody. Nobody's in there. And so how are they doing this revenue for A&F? The revenue is like what? What did they show up for revenue? Abercrombie did 1.1 billion revenue this quarter. Maybe online. Somebody told me online earlier. Maybe. I just don't get it. I don't understand. Maybe I'm too old. I think I'm just not cool anymore. I don't understand what's cool anymore. I think that's what it is. It's got to be. Jim Cramer? Where's he at? Let me see him. Found him. Yeah, I don't think, I mean, I see. All right, Nvidia heading down, NASDAQ falling down with it. All right, Chad, we got 25 minutes left until the end of the bell. Abercrombie's massive in Greenland. Greenland. Which means if it's Greenland, it's icy and cold. If it's Iceland, it's green and pretty. That's my model in my head of you know. So they wear a lot of Abercrombie in the cold Arctic weather. Interesting. All right, Nvidia falling down. The volume weighted average price is at 136s here, chat. 136s. We're right here. The Mighty Ducks. Is that Greenland? Perfect place for the fishnets. That's what I'm thinking right here. Honestly, I didn't want to say it, but I had a mental picture. I don't know, man. It's too weird, you know, for me to ask. All right, chat, we're at 136. Nvidia just got basically right up to that level. Here's the 30-minute chart. You can see how close we got to this 2-month high up here at 137.40s. Look at that. We got right there. Anytime we get this close to a high, I tend to think we're going to break it. And so I'm going to go with we're going to have a bullish response. I'm hoping we do. I don't know if we are or not. We might crash. I have no idea. But I think we're going to have an optimistic, positive response to Nvidia earnings based off of a couple things, but that, number one, I think public support of Nvidia is very high still. Other companies are basing their capex off of AI and investments, and I think that's all really good for Nvidia and their longevity in the tech space. I mean, AI obviously is a freaking huge thing now. But we also got really close to this 2-month high, and my OCD wants us to break it, and we haven't yet, and so I tend to think we're going to break it. Kramer's interviewing Jensen? I gotta ask AI this. All right, guys, so we're bouncing right there at 136s for Nvidia, getting pretty close. Again, the big stories of the day. Yes, Jim Cramer scheduled to be interviewed on Mad Money, airing at 5 p.m. Central Time. It coincides with Nvidia's Q1 earnings and is expected to cover key topics such as AI initiatives, enterprise strategies, future outlook. You got to make sure AI gets this right, though. Like, I'm looking here. Okay, so is this a pre-recorded interview? Wait. All right, so we're still breaking down. We're at 136. But yeah, according to AI, Jensen, Jim Cramer, the inverse GOAT, interview at 5 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Eastern. Interesting. my knees say otherwise. Oh. Jim Cramer is interviewing Nvidia. Yeah, Cramer is interviewing AI based around Nvidia stock called Steve. I hope the interview with Steve goes well, but yeah, no. On a serious note, Jensen is getting interviewed by Jim Cramer on Mad Money at 5 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Eastern time today. That's what's going on. So we got even more catalysts coming out later today, guys. So just be careful, man. We are 20 minutes until the closing bell. I'm going to have Carol bring me some food. Will Cramer affect Bitcoin? Affect Nvidia? That's the question. If this makes Jim Cramer super optimistic, how bad is that for Nvidia? Everybody loves Cramer. Yeah. Let me ask AI to confirm this. But somebody else said in chat that that's what was going on too. Elon Musk, apparently, this is a quote from Wall Street Journal citing sources. They say that Elon Musk tried to derail Sam Altman of OpenAI. Their big deal in Abu Dhabi, Musk warned the president wouldn't bless the OpenAI deal unless XAI was added. The president approved the Stargate deal in the UAE despite the protest, according to the Wall Street Journal. So Musk tried to get in there and use this influence to, you know. Interesting. All right, look at, honestly, guys, Nvidia's coming down ahead of this report. Nvidia's dipping down some here. We're falling now. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's insider selling. Somebody's selling based off of probably the chip news is what I'm guessing this is from. You know, the president ordering U.S. chip designers to stop selling overseas to China is not really good for chips in general, just because, like, we talked about this with tariffs before. Like, one of the things that we'd see people. It looks good. It looks good. What? Okay, come on in here. You gotta be quick though. All right. What was I saying here? Yeah, so we were talking about this before, but China's a big market. Like, China can act like they don't need the U.S. and the U.S. can act like they don't need China. Both of them do not want to lose the other's business 100%. And if you believe that China doesn't care about the U.S.'s business or that the U.S. doesn't care about China's businesses, you're dumb. Like, of course, China cares. We are the single largest buyer of Chinese manufactured goods. China does not want to lose the U.S. buyers, and the U.S. certainly does not want to lose China's products just because inflation would be rampant if they did. And so you just got to take that context into it with the chip deal. It's probably what's driving this market down. It's probably what's driving this market down. The president saying he's going to, ordering chip designers to stop selling to China is not really good for chips, and Nvidia reacting negatively. I'm sure if we take a look at AMD, it's coming down a little bit. I'm sure if we look at MU's not that bad. Intel. Did you get your hair done? Yeah. Oh, it looks good. Looks good. How's Carol's hair, guys? You want to hop? It looks good. I like it.
It's kind of yellow in there.
Well, you got to turn the look. Here, pull the green screen down.
It's not that yellow.
There you go.
Still looks kind of yellow.
Does it? Look, let me turn the filter off. No, it doesn't look bad. No, it's not yellow at all. I think it's the light. It might be the wood in the background.
Yeah, maybe.
But it's all right. All right, so a U.S. Commerce spokesperson says U.S. is renewing export strategic significance to China and has suspended some export licenses while the reviewing takes place. Here's some news. Here, hold on one second. That news just came out. I just put it up in chat right now. Hold on one second. All right, guys. Oof. I got my little box here. I can put the green screen back up if you guys think I should. I don't need coffee right now. I have caffeine water. Nasdaq hitting that previous or Nvidia. So here's the previous closing price for Nvidia. Another relevant level. It's at 150 or 135.50 is the previous closing price. It's this light blue level right here. It's the level at which it goes from red to green, green to red. That level is right here, and we are basically bouncing off of it right now. So we're right at the previous closing price. Technically, Nvidia is still technically green on the day, but if it breaks underneath this light blue line right here, it will be technically red on the day. And now it's technically red. Now it's technically green. We're basically break even right now. Again, we did have some U.S. Commerce spokesperson saying that the U.S. is reviewing exports of strategic significance to China, and this has suspended some export licenses while they're reviewing and taking place in the reviews. So yeah, we got 14 minutes until the market closes here, chat. Nvidia earnings are going to be released sometime after 4 p.m. We don't know exactly when. I think it's 4:20 is when they're technically scheduled to release, but you never freaking know. Yeah, it's caffeine water, and honestly, let me be real here. It's gross. Like, this is not good. This does not taste good. Caffeine water? Like, Gatorade caffeine. Caffeine Gatorade. You know, caffeine sports drink. I'd drink it. Caffeine water, it doesn't taste like water. There's kind of like a little, like, tinge to it. Like a little spice to it. I don't like it. It's not that good. Yeah. Yeah, the Nvidia earnings call is at 5 o'clock. But the earnings for Nvidia specifically, like the earnings are going to get released after the 5 p.m. or after the 4 p.m. closing bell. After the 5 p.m. closing bell or 4 p.m. closing bell, the earnings are going to drop. And then at 5 o'clock Eastern time, the call is going to start. And then apparently at 6 o'clock Eastern time, Jim Cramer, Inverse GOAT, and Jensen Huang, actual GOAT, are going to be having a meeting here. So that's going on at 6 o'clock today after the closing bell. Who sold you the idea to drink caffeine and water? I was walking around the grocery store and I saw it and I thought if it tasted like water, I would like it. Like a healthier caffeine intake. The logic of it is healthy. Okay, let me sell you on it real quick. The logic of it is healthy. You don't have to take sugar and to get your caffeine. You don't have to drink a soda. You don't have to get all jittery with the coffee. You can drink some water, get a little bit of energy, and there you go. It's relatively healthy caffeine intake, right? The problem is it doesn't taste like water. And so that's the issue with this caffeine water that I'm drinking. It doesn't actually taste like water. DeepSeek has crushed Nvidia's business. You're way too bullish. I'm not even super bullish. I have no idea what Nvidia is going to do. My OCD wants the Nvidia to break the high of the last 2 months, since we basically got 15 cents away from it. But I have no qualms about thinking it actually will, and I genuinely have no idea what it's going to do. And so I really have no idea what it's going to do. It might go up, down, sideways. I'm not one of those people who try to make some big, bold prediction regarding it, thinking I'm accurate. If I'm correct, straight luck. Straight luck. You know. All right, you guys, 10 minutes until the closing bell. I don't like Pfizer at all, Michael. It's too volatile because of biotech. It's nothing against Pfizer specifically. I just don't like biotech. Look at United Health. I don't like those companies. They're too difficult to predict. Too much optimism. Too big of falls when they're wrong. I just don't like it. Earnings beat and then a drop as usual. Yeah, maybe. Nvidia hit that VWAP level and then rejected. Nvidia is now technically red on the day. It's down to 135.40s. Chat, 135.40s here. Still looking pretty weak. Yeah, I took a bunch of trades today, to be honest, but you can see Nvidia earnings right here. I mean, we're going to cover it as soon as it drops. Nvidia earnings don't come out. Technically, if we go by exactly when they're scheduled, Nvidia earnings drop in 30 minutes. But they could release anytime after the closing bell. We're seeing some pretty big red action. I want to see if there's a catalyst to this. Hold on. Oh, so this is the market on close orders. Sorry. So this is the MOC. This is the MOC for the market closing here. Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, we got a little red action here from the MOC. I forgot about the MOC. All right, guys, so we're under the previous closing price for Nvidia. Other chip stocks are falling down with us. Here's Nvidia on a 30-minute chart. We got so close to this 2-month high up here, but no luck in actually breaking it. We got 8 minutes left until the closing bell. So yeah, the imbalance was minus 679.1 million on the S&P. Minus 233.8 million on the NASDAQ. Negative pretty much everywhere. Again, guys, let's talk about it. We got 7.5 minutes left. Nvidia earnings. Here's the big stories. Revenue expected around 43 billion. This is a 66% increase relative to the same period last year, Q1 2024. Adjusted EPS expected in a pretty big range between 73 cents and 88 cents a share. You know, the last quarter we saw 89 cents. But that was for Q4, a much more active year for almost all blue chip companies in terms of revenue. It's the fall months. It's you know, November, December, it's October, November, December, much more active, much more buying going on in those months for holidays and all kind of stuff. But the last quarter, Q4 2024, was 89 cent EPS. Today, they're expecting anywhere between 73 and 88 cents for Q1 2025. You want to pay attention to expected data center revenue. It's expected at 21.27 billion, driven by demand from major tech companies. You also want to pay attention. A big story of today's earnings is going to be the H2O chips. Here, hold on. A big story of today is going to be on the H2O chips. They have the chip bans going on for China. So the government's ban on Nvidia H2O chip sales to China has led to a $5.5 billion write-down for Nvidia. They lost $5.5 billion from this chip ban. Q2 guidance concerns. Analysts anticipate downward revisions in Q2 revenue guidance, possibly to around $41 billion due to trade restrictions, reduced market share in China. Can you give me another knife besides that one? I'm not trying to be. Sorry, that knife that we're using, it's got like the ultra stick stuff, but analysts anticipate downward revisions in Q2 revenue guidance to around 41 billion. So watch Q2 guidance. Some analysts are expecting 41 billion. Update to it. The Blackwell architecture might impact margins in near term. Nvidia announced big deals with 40 billion agreement with Oracle and a major deal with Saudi Arabia. Thank you, baby. Thank you. Love you. Thank you. All right. Upcoming Blackwell GPU architecture expected to drive future growth, positioning Nvidia at the forefront of AI. We're watching for that. It's up 25% in the last 30 days. Nvidia stock price. This is probably a little bit less now, but Nvidia's up about 25% in the last 30 days. I think because of that, we might have a little bit more strict. Might have a little bit more strictness in terms of reaction and influence from Nvidia earnings. Generally, if we go up too much leading into earnings, sometimes we get pullbacks, even though the earnings are good, because the expected outcome is already baked into the movement of this of the price, if that makes sense, right? So I think that's a dynamic you want to pay attention to today with Nvidia earnings. And so yeah, just be careful today, guys. We got 5 minutes until the closing bell. 5 minutes. Sorry. So people are asking what the president said. A couple things this morning, or this afternoon. The president ordered U.S. chip designers specifically to stop selling to China, according to Financial Times. It's a deeper article about the chip designers and them not being able to sell their designs to China. This has negatively weighed on Nvidia and other microchip stocks leading into the earnings report in the closing bell today, which is in 3 minutes. That is what's dragged Nvidia. Nvidia was really at 2-month highs since February. The 2-month high is 137.40. Nvidia got up to 137.25. Then the news came out, and Nvidia, other microchip stocks are down because of it. You can see kind of the downward trajectory for Nvidia here. Basically got right up there close to those 2-month highs and then just dumped back down a little bit. Three minutes into the closing bell, chat. 3 minutes. All right, sorry guys. I'm eating this crepe. I'm trying to mute it, but all right, chat. 2 minutes into the closing bell. Again, technically, Nvidia earnings are scheduled to drop at 4:20 Eastern Standard Time. So technically scheduled for 23 minutes. You never freaking know, though. They might drop at any time. One of the things I see with companies is they might say it's 4:10, 4:15, 4:20, 4:30. They might release it early. Or Nvidia specifically is sometimes late. So sometimes it'll schedule for 4:20 and then it'll drop at 4:45. People are sitting there freaking out, not knowing what to do. So, all right, guys, we got 2 minutes left until the closing bell. 2 minutes. All right, guys, we got 1.5 minutes left. Are you bullish or bearish for Nvidia today? Bullish or bearish? So again, let me know if you guys think we're going to get good or bad reactions. And again, just because we have good EPS, good revenue, good guidance does not necessarily mean we're going to go up. So we can do anything here, to be honest. All right, 45 seconds. Most people are bullish here, chat. So most people are bullish. We're heading towards the closing bell. Nvidia slightly red on the day. It broke under the previous closing price about 10 minutes ago. We're still down underneath that previous closing price, but we're getting a little bit better. We're holding down here. We're not like crashing down yet. And so, yeah, let's see what we get today, guys. I'm gonna have to wait and eat this maybe after the thing. So Nvidia technically is scheduled for 4:20 Eastern Standard Time. Here's the closing bell. Let's watch Nvidia. Again, Nvidia expectations are between 75 and 88 cents a share. I'll put this on the main bottom here. $75 to 88 or 89 cents a share. Revenue expected at 43 billion. All right, so we got this up on screen so you can see what the expected numbers are. You'll see when the earnings are coming out, and we'll cover it as soon as the earnings drop as well. All right, guys, so there's the close. Let's watch Nvidia to see if it moves. It's a candle right there for sure. We also had some other stuff. We had Salesforce close at the closing bell. Salesforce releasing at the closing bell today as well. So let's see if Salesforce is out. Let me take a look. Tesla is said to target the robotaxi launch in Austin on June 12th, according to Bloomberg. June 12th is when the robotaxi launch is going to be in Austin, Texas, on June 12th for the robotaxi. Salesforce also had earnings today, chat, so I forgot about Salesforce. It might be 405, but I don't think Salesforce is out either. All right, so I don't see Salesforce out. It's scheduled technically for now, but I don't see it. Salesforce expected at 9.75 revenue for 2026. It's expected to report 255 EPS. All right, Salesforce looks like it might be out though. Look at Salesforce, up to 288s. 288s for Salesforce. It looks like it's out right now. Bear with me here. All right, Salesforce ripping up higher here. Rip it up higher. All right, so Salesforce is out. It posted revenue of $9.8 billion, up 8%. First quarter subscription and support revenue, $9.3 billion. First quarter GAAP operating margin, 19.8%. All right, first quarter revenue. All right, so here's Salesforce's numbers here. All right, so we posted these. So again, 258 versus 255, 9.83 versus 9.75 for Salesforce. Nvidia is not out yet, but Salesforce is out, and you can kind of see. Waiting on Nvidia now, but Salesforce is out. We don't really have any other big companies, to be honest, that dropped today. Nothing really major, but. All right, Salesforce guidance. We'll put this up too. Salesforce flying up on this result too. Wow. Guidance came in at 278 on revenue of 10.16. 274 guidance expected on revenue of 10. So better than expected guidance and EPS and revenue for Salesforce. And it's up pretty big on it. It's up to 290 right now. 290 for Salesforce. Nvidia down to 134s. Yeah, we'll see when Nvidia moves here. Yeah, I mean, I'm covering Salesforce just because it's important, but. All right, guys. So Salesforce beat EPS, beat revenue, beat guidance for the most part. Again, the robotaxi event is now going to be most likely June 12th, according to reports. June 12th. So Monday, June 12th is when the robotaxi event is going to be. Again, technically, Nvidia is scheduled for after 4 p.m. at 4:20 Eastern Standard Time is technically when they're scheduled. Still waiting here. We'll see when the market moves, but technically they're scheduled for 15 minutes from now for Nvidia earnings. All right, Nvidia. It's at 134.60s right now. 134.60. Salesforce still pushing up. Was over 290, and now it's back over 290. Nvidia hasn't really budged yet, though. I don't think we had any other big earnings, did we, after the bell today? I don't think so. All right, so we're up there. We got HP, a couple other ones, but nothing really big after the bell. We'll cover it if it drops. We had Synopsys report earnings. Synopsys is one of the companies that, Elf, yeah, we'll watch Elf. There's Synopsys right there. Synopsys is one of the companies that was banned, I believe, for China AI infrastructure, or AI architecture, right? Yeah, so Synopsys was one of the companies that the president recently banned. All right, so look at Nvidia push up here. This is probably not from the earnings yet, but Nvidia is pushing up. All right, Elf posted 49-cent EPS on sales of 332.6 million. Again, 49-cent EPS on 332.6 million in revenue. They also announced an agreement to acquire Rode in a $1 billion deal for Elf. If we put up Elf is down pretty significantly on this. Nvidia's back up there, though. We're still waiting for it, though, so give us time. Technically, Nvidia earnings are scheduled for 4:20 Eastern Standard Time. 4:20. So Salesforce beat EPS, beat revenue, beat guidance. Nvidia still nothing yet. Technically, they're scheduled for 12 minutes from now, but they could release anytime, chat. Again, their EPS is expected at 75 to 89 cents. Revenue expected at 43 billion. Yeah, we're also supposed to... Oh, C3. Let me check C3. I don't see C3 out yet, personally. Let me look at the symbol. All right, there's C3 out right now, actually. They just dropped. All right, so C3 is out. Let's take a look. Yeah, I don't see it yet, but C3 is out. All right, C3 AI. Yeah, I don't see it yet. I'm waiting. All right, so C3 AI and Baker Hughes renew and expand a joint venture agreement. So I see that, but I don't see the earnings actually out yet. So again, C3 AI and Baker Hughes renew and expand joint venture agreement. Maybe that's what's driving it up, and the EPS is just not out yet. Okay, actually the earning, no, sorry. Yeah, so again, C3 AI and Baker Hughes expand joint venture agreement. That's probably what's driving it up. That's the news right there. I'll put it in chat. Well, Tesla, their robotaxi day is coming on June 12th in like 2 weeks exactly, so. Nvidia's not out. Yeah, Nvidia's not out yet. You'll see it move when Nvidia's out. As soon as Nvidia's released, you'll see a movement. Technically, Nvidia is scheduled for 4:20 Eastern Standard Time. Nvidia is slightly green on the day. I'm still waiting on C3 AI. I don't really see the news. I think C3 is just up on the catalyst of data center deal or something. Nvidia is scheduled for 4:20 Eastern Standard Time, so 10 minutes left. It could drop anytime though. Okay, C3 is out now, so C3 is out. Revenue for fourth quarter grows 26% year over year. Revenue was 108.7 million, up 26%. Total revenue for the fiscal year was 389.1 for 2025, up 25% compared to 310. They posted a loss of 16% versus a loss of 20 cents expected for C3 AI. Here's the numbers right here. So at 5 p.m. the call is then, but they'll release the numbers in about 9 minutes. So again, here's C3 is out. All right, so C3 lost 16 cents versus 20 cents expected. Sales at 108.7 versus 107.73. Mostly mixed. Slightly better than expected for C3 though. Still waiting on Nvidia's scheduled to release in 8 minutes. Nvidia's not out. You know why Nvidia's not out is because you'll see a reaction like this or like this from Nvidia. You'll see big movement in one way. This is not going to be the Nvidia earnings reaction right here. You know, so like you'll know as soon as Nvidia's out. Big money gets the data way before any of us do, including me on this YouTube stream. But we'll know when it's out is the point, and Nvidia is not out. It drops in 420 at 4:20 Eastern Standard Time. This is when it's scheduled. It might come out early. We'll see. I'm not big money. I mean, no, I'm not. I was trying to think of a way where I could be, but I'm just not. I'm not big money. I'm big Papa Paper Hands. All right, guys. C3 broke 27s. Look at it run. Waiting on Nvidia numbers. And again, the big story of Nvidia earnings today. EPS, big range, 73 to 88 cents is what they're expecting. Revenue, 43 billion, up 66% year over year is what they're expecting. Data center revenue expected to be just under 22 billion at 21.27 billion. China export restrictions and the H2O chip sale ban in China. Will that impact them big? They said it's going to cause a $5.5 billion write-down loss. Quarter two guidance. Some analysts are revising guidance for quarter two downward to around 41 billion. Profit margin. People are worried the Blackwell architecture might impact margin short term. Partnerships, 40 billion Oracle deal, Saudi Arabia deal, you know, Blackwell GPU architecture. Nvidia's up 25% over the past 30 days. All things to listen to for today's earnings call that we're going to cover as soon as it drops. We'll see it when it drops. Let's see what happens. Still waiting here, chat. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. I really want to say thank you for this channel. This is my go-to spot. Hey, thanks so much. Should I have a leather jacket on, guys? Maybe I should. I went through a phase in elementary school where I had a leather jacket. I remember it. I wanted like a Fonzie one. My parents bought me like a fighter pilot one instead. And I was disappointed, but I appreciated it. I'm still kind of mad about it though. All right, guys. So we got 137s or 135s. We're slightly green on Nvidia here, slightly green. I mean, I can go grab a Rolex, but I don't have a leather jacket. I don't think. I got a bluesy and a Batman though I could throw on, but that takes too much time. My luck, Nvidia would release right when I'm gone, and then I would get shamed endlessly for it. So I'm good. Jean jacket? That's before my generation, bro. I'm not that old, you know. No offense. It's all love. All right, guys. Nvidia technically green on the day. Technically green. Let's wait for it. Nvidia's starting to fight back, starting to go higher. Nothing yet, though, for earnings. They're technically scheduled. A lot of the time, Nvidia's late. Let's see if they're on time. They got some criticism for being late in the past, too. So, people are saying there's pessimism leading into the earnings report. I don't know if I see that. All right, chat. 3 minutes. Yeah, we already commented at C3 AI. So we already covered Salesforce as well. Both of them are up pretty big, right? C3 and CRM. All right, chat. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. They might be late. Again, Nvidia's pretty notorious for being late with their earnings. So we got time. Will the first move be the wrong move? What's your estimate price for Nvidia today at 8 p.m.? I don't know, bro. He's interviewing Kramer. And so who knows what's going to happen there. I really genuinely don't know. All right, chat, here we go. Still waiting. The notorious BIG. Jensen Huang. All right, guys. A minute and a half. Yeah, they're technically scheduled for 4:20 Eastern Standard Time. All right, here we go. 1 minute. We got 1 minute and 10 seconds. Hit the live button next to the play button. You can also put it in 2x speed. It'll catch you up to it. But I appreciate you guys joining me, you know. Fed minutes report, we had 5,000 people. Today we got over 5,000 for Nvidia, so appreciate the love, guys. Thanks so much. We got less than a minute. We got 50 seconds. I'm going to do a countdown every, 15 seconds. 45 seconds. Hit the live button. Hit the 2x speed if you want to catch up. All right, chat. We got about 30 seconds left. 30 seconds. Watch this candlestick. You'll be able to tell when the earnings drop because this candle will start to move erratically, like up, down, big, kind of like that at first, and then it'll either pop up or pop down. It depends on how polarized the earnings are. If they're really one-sided, it might just have a big red or big green candle. But let's get ready. Here we go. 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, all right, look, there's the candle. There's the candle. Nvidia posted revenue of 28.6. They expected 30.4 billion. EPS of 62. They expected 69. Now that doesn't sound right. Hold on, let me make sure this is not wrong. All right, Nvidia posted 81 cents versus 93 cents. Really, 81 cents is pretty good. So Nvidia posted 81 cents adjusted EPS, revenue of 44 billion, better than expected EPS and revenue. Data center revenue came in at 39.1 versus 39.2 expected. Quarter one adjusted gross margin 61% versus expected 71%. So again, quarter one revenue, beat EPS, beat revenue, missed data center revenue, and yeah. All right, guys. So again, we're gonna put this up on screen, but again, 81 cents versus 89. It was a big volatile expected number. Nvidia pushing up. We'll put these data releases on screen here, chat. There's the release right there. Nvidia beat EPS. They beat revenue. I don't know. It's showing they missed EPS. Their EPS was expected anywhere between 72 and 88 cents on my end. So we came kind of the middle range, kind of as expected. Some analysts are going to have their expectations higher than this for margins or EPS. Others are going to have it lower. But basically mixed flat EPS, better than expected revenue by a small margin. These are very mixed results. Nvidia is shooting up, though. It's currently at 138.40s. 138.40s for Nvidia. Nvidia is up a lot. Almost up to 139 here. Look at Nvidia, almost up to 139. Just tapped 139 for Nvidia. The market is flying up right now on this report. Flying up on this report. Wow. Again, Nvidia quarter one EPS 81 cents. They expected 93. 44.1 billion revenue versus 43 billion expected. Quarter one data center came in at 39.1 versus 39.2. So they missed their data center revenue, which again, if you listen to the stories that we had prior to this, were really important. We have some guidance numbers. So guidance numbers for Nvidia, quarter two came in at 45 plus or minus 2% versus 45.9 billion. So basically flat for quarter two guidance. We'll put this data up on screen as well. Again, they said it was due to loss of H2O revenue of 8 billion due to export control limits. So this is what happened right here. Nvidia is flying up though, guys. It's almost up to 140s now. Look at Nvidia, almost up to 140s. Again, guidance was mostly flat. They see quarter two sales at 45.9 versus 45.7 expected. So flat. Again, EPS was flat. Sales beat. Guidance was flat. Kind of a flat earnings report. I'm surprised they're up this much, but it was the implied volatility was 8% today. 8%. Yeah, maybe build. Yeah, sometimes the first move is the wrong move, is what they describe it as. Like if we push up a lot, sometimes we reverse back down by the next day. It's a very common thing with catalysts, especially like 8:30 earnings, or especially with like PM earnings or 8:30 data releases like CPI. Sometimes we'll go up and then dump down and vice versa. So just be careful, guys. I don't know what's going to happen here. We have about 37 minutes until the earnings call, which we're going to stream fully live as we do. Nvidia says they're excluding the 4.5 billion charge and related tax impact. First quarter non-GAAP diluted earnings per share would have been 96 cents. 96 cents. And maybe this is what it is. So maybe this is why they're up so much. All right, but there's Nvidia pulling back a little bit. But again, Nvidia, again, just to clarify, Nvidia said, I'll put this up in chat so you guys can see it. The forward guidance is flat. So we already got the forward guidance numbers. It's basically flat. All right, so we're going to put this up on the main. Okay, so we put the Nvidia numbers back up, reflected at the bottom scroller, as well as the top, to be honest. But guidance was flat, EPS was flat, sales beat. And so we're getting some reaction here. We're up about 4% right now. Not the biggest move, and we're heading into the earnings report, which is going to be... We got the earnings call going live after the closing bell today, so, or at 5 p.m. So we got 35 minutes. We'll put a timer up for that. Stick around. We're going to cover the full call, all that good stuff live. We got 35 minutes until it happens. Here's the timer. Does Nvidia hold? Let me end this poll. We asked people, does Nvidia beat or miss? 76% say they beat. We were mostly mixed. We came in flat for EPS. If anything, some people would say EPS came in a little bit under the expected number. I never saw, they said expected was 91 cents. I never saw a 91 cent expected number. I saw a 75 to 85 cent expected. And so in that regard, we're based right in the middle. I call that flat. Right, revenue was better than expected, but only slightly. So these are kind of mixed results. They're not the best. The only good thing, though, is that we do see Nvidia coming out with this quote where they said, excluding the $4.5 billion charge and related tax impact, first quarter non-GAAP diluted earnings per share would have been 96 cents. And so if that's the case, then, you know, that's a pretty good report. And again, Nvidia getting up there close to 140s. Still dipping down though, a little volatile. I'm going to put up some metrics in chat so you can follow them. Data center revenue 39.1, professional visualization revenue 509 versus 498, a little bit better than expected there. Again, here's the guidance numbers again. Quarter two revenue 45 plus or minus 2 billion. Which is basically flat versus the 46 billion consensus. Outlook reflects loss of H2O revenue of $8 billion due to export control limits and the ban on chips, H2O chips to China. Yeah, so look at this movement here. And again, guys, if you want to help support the channel, check out TopStep. If you want to learn to day trade, do not fund your own account thousands of dollars trying to day trade stocks or anything else. Most day traders lose. I'm very honest about this. Almost all day traders are going to lose, especially in their first year or two. Instead of risking 5, 10, 20, 30 grand, try TopStep's funded account program. I'm biased because I get paid by them, number one. But it genuinely is a better way to learn. They give you a 50K demo. It's $50 a month. If you can make 3K without losing 2K, following their rules, a reasonable 3-to-2 ratio, they fund you 50K with a 90% split. That's very similar to funding your own account. If you fail, you're out $50, and you get to keep your first 10K in profit prior to that split kicking in once you're funded. And so you got a very similar split to funding your own account. If you lose money, you're out $50. You're still risking something, though, in learning how to trade under pressure because there's no risk to a paper account, and it doesn't really teach you how to trade in the right way. And so it's a beautiful middle ground of pressure, and they've paid out hundreds of millions of dollars if we're talking payouts. They fund thousands of traders. It's just a beautiful way to learn when most day traders lose money. And frankly, most day traders will probably lose here as well. It's a lot cheaper to lose here than it is to fund your own account thousands of dollars and lose that, most of the time at least. Although, again, understand all the stuff on screen. I can't guarantee anything. I'm not an investment professional. I'm not liable. If you lose, I've only done 2 plugs in the last 6. Hey guys, so listen, Did the audio go out? I'm sorry. So when did it go out? What's the last thing you hear? Sorry. But again, if you want to check out Top Step, great way to help support the channel. No PDT in futures. If you want to learn to day trade, do not risk your own money day trading stocks. Most day traders lose. And so on Top Step, they give you a 50K demo. It's $50 a month. They test your skill. If you pass the test, they fund you 50K, 90% split. Very similar to funding your own account. Great way to learn. If you want to check it out, there's the link in chat. Although, again, I'm biased. I get paid by them. I'm biased. I try to be honest with people about it. Understand that context of it. Understand all this stuff on screen. Don't copy me. Can't guarantee anything. We're going to cover the full earnings call live. Nvidia's starting to dip down a little bit now. I only did 2 plugs because people told me I was muted for the first one. Now Pawn's telling me it was only the last 15 seconds. So there you go. We'll do a short one. Hey, thank you, Ross. What do you guys think about Jensen and Kramer doing an interview at 6 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Eastern time? Kramer and Jensen are going to be doing an interview on Mad Money at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Are you bullish or bearish on that? Yeah, bullish or bearish? Everybody loves Kramer. Jensen Kramer will be a bromance. Bullish? I mean, it's got to be good, right? You got the biggest fluffer in the industry, Jim Cramer. And then you got Jensen Huang, the CEO of it, the biggest tech stock in the world, one of them at least. So it's got to be good, I would assume, right? You got to be careful assuming anything in trading. But still. Bullish? We'll see. I don't know, man. We'll see. Who freaking knows, bro? The other big news for Tesla here, chat, is that Tesla's robotaxi event is going to be June 12th. June 12th, Tesla's robotaxi event. Do you think it'll react positively to that? I think the robotaxi is a great idea, but I got to learn a little bit more about it before I get sold on it. I'm not really one of those people that are just going to hate Tesla because of political stuff, but we'll see what happens. What's a fluffer? Somebody that fluffs things up, makes everything positive. Jim Cramer's got that corporation money behind him, you know. You know, I've heard people, Teslas are so polarized. I've heard some people be like, they're the greatest cars ever. And then I've heard others be like, they're the worst built cars in the world. And I don't know which one's true, especially with the political dynamic involved. I've never owned one, but with politics, people are going to base their whole personality around their political party. I'm not one of those people. So I don't care that much about it. I'm just curious. Are they actually good cars or are they terrible? Because I hear both sides running a live stream like this pretty often. Truth is in the middle. Yeah, I see Allison say I feel bad for Kramer. I think he's really smart, but the counter trading became a big trend, so he always looks wrong now. I don't think he was wrong because people counter traded him. Like, I'm sure some people jumped on board shorts if he said he liked something, but that's not why they went down. I think they went down because he's really late to the party a lot of the time. You know, he's kind of got that boomer mentality, no offense, where he didn't really buy into a lot of stuff until they're super extended really high. And so finally, when old Jim Cramer finally jumps on board a lot of these big, massive assets, they're so extended on the upside, they start to decrease a little bit because of it, right? And so people correlated that, I think, more than anything else. But I think that is why there's the inverse aspect of Cramer, is because he's so late to the party in a lot of stuff, to be honest. Kramer deliberately tells retail the opposite of what institutional money. I believe that. I believe that a lot of big entities do that. An example of this, look at Nvidia start to push back up. But an example of this I always use for my streams is if we put a weekly chart up and we look at long term, Nvidia is getting closer to all-time highs. Right here. You know how many people told me that the market was going to crash and burn right here? So many people this like years ago said, oh, they made fun of me for buying in the market. They made fun of me for all kind of stuff. They told me the market was going to crash and burn, all this crazy stuff, right? And one of the reasons they did was because big banks told them the same thing. They said, oh, we're going to enter a recession. It's going to be the end of the world. Watch out. You better sell. Blah, 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 blah. Following this, we had one of the longest bull, like the strongest bull markets in recent memory, the AI boom, right? And who do you think made money from this huge upward bull run? The banks did, you know? And so I think people are really torn, or people are really manipulated, I think is the easiest way to put it, into going the opposite way that they should. But yeah. Earnings are out. Yeah, earnings are out. Earnings are right here. Yeah, and I think that's a more common trading theme than people realize. Somebody said it's logic they need you to sell so they can buy cheaper in. 100%. It's a very common logic, I think, too. Should we do a poll? Are you bullish or bearish on Nvidia's earnings call? I think we should. There you go. So yeah, Nvidia getting closer and closer to that all-time high here at 140s. Very close. So Nvidia is effectively broken. Again, I kind of said this morning, or this evening, and I'm going to preface what I'm about to say with that. I think I just got lucky. I thought we would push up. We were too close to that 2-month high for us not to push up. My OCD was bugging me because we got really close to this level here, and we just didn't break it. And so I assumed we were going to go up, and we did. I'm going to brag about it, but it's purely luck. I just got lucky. All right, guys, we got 23 minutes left. 23 minutes. Nvidia's shooting up. Basically at 140 again. I vaguely remember what you said, Femi, this morning. But if you were right, good job, brother. I can't really remember what you said, to be honest. Yeah, I tend to think we're going to be optimistic for Nvidia. What I'm eating right now. So Nvidia broke highs again. It got up to 140.50s. Just under 140.50s. 140.44. Remember, the all-time high for Nvidia is up there at 153s. So we're basically at 140.50 right now. I am eating a bacon, egg, cheese, and potato crepe with maple syrup on it. It's turkey bacon, though, because, you know, health. And it is important. But yeah, we're up to 140.50s here, chat. I said the negative sentiment set up an upward surprise. Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing that too, Femi, for sure. Maple syrup from Canada for $100, maybe. Salesforce went all the way up to almost $300 and then turned all the way back and gave it all back for Salesforce. Look at Salesforce. All the way back down. 276. We're almost to 140 now. All right, so we dipped back under 140. Look at Salesforce give it back. Let's see C3 AI here as well. C3 AI is still holding up pretty firm here. ELF starting to fight its way back up some too. AMD kind of following a similar trajectory to Nvidia. What about Palantir? Most of these are doing little mini versions of Nvidia. There's Nvidia down there at 276. Or I mean Salesforce, I'm sorry, down there at 276. All right, Nvidia at 140.30s. 140.30s. Let's see if we can tap this level. We're up to highs again. Just broke highs of the day again for Nvidia. We're now at 140.50 here. 140.50. We got about 15 minutes left. Yep, still pushing here, chat. Yeah, we're up there. We're getting close. All right, we retested highs really quick. We got right back up to 140.50s. All right, guys, so we do have Bitcoin starting to creep back up. Nvidia is right around the highs of the day, although the move is kind of small. Still kind of small here. 15 minutes left. Almost exactly 15 minutes. So in 15 minutes, we got the Nvidia earnings call, quarter one. We'll see what it looks like. Yeah, C3 AI posted a 16-cent loss. It beat the 20-cent loss estimate, though. Sales of 109 beat 108 estimates or so. So C3, if we take a look at C3 AI, it's up to almost 27 right now from 23. So C3 AI is making a pretty big move in the AI space. So yeah, earnings are posted, but they got to talk about it, yeah, for sure. And again, Nvidia basically said, just to put everything out there, Nvidia said, quote, our breakthrough Blackwell NVL 72 AI supercomputer, a thinking machine designed for reasoning, is now in full-scale production across system makers and cloud service, said Jensen Huang, founder and CEO. Global demand for Nvidia's AI infrastructure is strong. AI inference token generation has surged tenfold in just a year as AI agents become mainstream. The demand for AI computing will accelerate. Countries around the world are recognizing AI as essential infrastructure like electricity and internet, and Nvidia stands at the center of this profound transformation. Nvidia, why does Nvidia even have this 1 cent per share dividend? I feel like they just want to say they offer a dividend to make it their stock price a little bit more attractive, but it's 1 cent a quarter. It's kind of ridiculous. Meaning, never mind. It's incredibly insignificant. But hey, Nvidia did pretty good. They came in mostly flat with EPS, beat revenue slightly. Guidance was flat. Yeah, I mean, Nvidia, whether EPS was a miss depends on which analyst you look at. Again, I said this multiple times before the report, but I've seen expectations for EPS today for Nvidia anywhere all the way down to 72 cents a share. And so if we go by that bottom number, they beat EPS. If we go by their top number at like 88, 89 cents, then they missed it. They're basically right in between it. So I'm going to call it a flat reading. And they also did give a little bit more context in the things here, though. So they did say that they say excluding the $4.5 billion charge and related tax impacts, the first quarter non-GAAP diluted earnings per share would have been 96 cents a share. So if they had basically the H2O chip restrictions caused them to lose a little bit, excluding that, it would have been 96 cents. Still testing right around those highs. All right, we're testing highs again. We're at 140.4. 140.5 is the new high of the day. We got up to 4.7 just now, 4.3, 4.5s. Nvidia getting very close. We got about 10 minutes left. All right, guys, we're getting ready for the call. Call starts in about 10 minutes. Mute the music. Okay. All right, I wanted to mute the music to make sure we're waiting. Okay, so yeah, we're waiting on the call. We're waiting for the Nvidia earnings call now. So we're sitting tight waiting for it. It should be in about 9 minutes now. Stock trading is like digital music chairs. Yeah, sometimes. Guidance was flat. I wouldn't say it was good. It was kind of neutral. Their guidance showed up. Q2 revenue, 45 billion, plus or minus 2%. Expected 46 billion. So 45 plus or minus 2% sounds an awful lot like 46, 47. So basically flat. Not any big beat for guidance, to be honest. Mostly neutral. No, I'm about to change it right now. Yeah, I mean, I would assume. See, here's the thing, though, guys. Like I think the biggest rookie mistake. Nvidia just cracked all-time highs, or not all-time highs, highs of the day again. Got up to 140.80, 140.80, just under 141s. The biggest problem with traders is that they think earnings are predictable, and they're not. They think the reactions to earnings are predictable. They think they can predict what the companies are going to do for their earnings. And while you might have a little bit of edge in predicting what the company might actually do, and it's not a super high edge, predicting the reaction that the stock is going to have following its release of earnings is almost impossible. Like, predicting what kind of reaction we're going to get is almost impossible. And the issue is that you got basically gamblers that sit around buying up options ahead of stuff like this, just straight up gambling. Like, they're looking for a rush is what they're looking for, right? And then they get mad and they blame all this different stuff, and nobody cries manipulation more than somebody that's wildly wrong about a prediction. But the reality of it is, if you're making big bets on earnings, you're making a super rookie mistake. Most people can recognize, if you've had any experience in finance with stocks and earnings, bro, company can have good EPS, good revenue, good guidance, drop 10%. Company can have bad EPS, bad revenue, bad guidance, go up 12, 13, 14, 15%, 20% in some cases. You never freaking know. Super nuanced. Not something you want to try to bet on. I mean, you can bet, you can do like a strangle or something like that. That's fine. I'm okay with that, although I still think it's risky. But do whatever you want to do. I'm not doing it. Yeah, I mean, you can hedge. That's fine. That's a different thing. I'm talking about people that go one direction, buy like a bunch, like 5K worth of options, and then get mad if it doesn't go in their direction. You know what I mean? Like, that's just gambling. Yeah, I mean, look, we keep breaking highs for Nvidia. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely living proof that you can tell people you have no idea what you're talking about and still make money on YouTube. You know, I'd rather be honest about it too. All right, guys, we got 5 minutes. I'm gonna say I've been sitting here since the Fed minutes report at freaking 2 o'clock Eastern time. Really, since 1 o'clock Eastern time, I've been sitting here. It is now what, 3 o'clock? Have I been here? Is it just 2 hours? No, I've been doing this stream for 1 hour and 20 minutes. Well, I've been doing the stream for over 2 hours now. Sheesh. Okay. Yeah, I've been sitting here since 2 o'clock Eastern time. It is what? Oh, it's almost 5 o'clock Eastern time. So I've been here for 3 hours with you guys. I'm ready to get up, dude. I'm tired of staring at charts. So I'm going to listen to this earnings call. Stick around. We're going to cover the full call. You won't have to go anywhere, guys. Hey, thank you, Super. Appreciate it. Yeah, pretty green, I think. Yeah, I mean, you can buy companies. I'm okay with that. Like, if you're DCAing or something like that, do your thing. Like, the biggest statistical edge is if you DCA long term. You know. All right, we're also gonna turn the music up loud. Not the music, but we're gonna turn the call volume up so you can really hear it. Yeah, I mean 3 hours, but I also did 4 hours this morning, so 7 hours. You know. I'm ready to get out of here. Hey, listen, get it. I'm gonna do a shameless plug here. If you want to check out Top Step. Beautiful way to learn how to day trade. Most day traders lose. Learning in the structured environment where you're risking something, you have some pressure, you're learning how to trade under pressure, makes sense. They give you a 50K demo, 100K demo, 150K demo, depending on which price point you pick. And that's your risk. $100, $150, $50, whichever one you choose. If you pass the test, you get a 90% split funded account. Same amount. So it's a 50K, you get a 50K funded account. If it's the 100K funded account, 90% split. Similar to funding your own account, and you get to keep your first 10K in profit prior to that split kicking in. And we processed the payout last week. It came in very quickly. Very quickly. If you lose, you're out $50, $100. It's not the end of the world. It's a great way to learn. And most day traders end up losing, I would say, noticeably more than that. I know I did. I lost like $4,000 in 2 weeks trying to think I was going to be some prodigy day trading savant. I just lost money. This happens to all traders. So just understand that. No PDT in futures. You want to day trade, check out Top Step. It's just a beautiful way to kind of hedge and learn and get better. And if you're good enough to pass it, you can withdraw and fund your own account. But again, I'm biased because they pay me money. So I'm biased for sure. Understand all this stuff on screen. There's the link. You can also pin it, see it pinned at the top of the chat. Can't guarantee anything. Understand all this stuff on screen. Not an investment professional. I'm biased. Anyways, Nvidia continues to break highs. We're up to almost $142 a share now. We're at 149.70s here. 149.70 is getting very close. I'm going to turn this music off. I'm going to turn the background music up. And, yeah. All right, so we're ready. There you go. I appreciate it, Jose. Thank you, brother. All right, guys, 2 minutes here, 2 minutes. I'm going to put Nvidia up just a different time frame, maybe like a 4-hour chart or something. 30-minute chart so you can kind of see the real action here. All right, guys, we got about a minute left. Nvidia's still pushing higher here. Yeah, so we got the hold music on. I'm just ready for this to end. We should be starting very soon. Sometimes there's lag that takes place with these calls. It's not me. It's just the pure latency of the stream. I'm running 1,300 upload megabits per second. It ain't me. But sometimes you get little lags and dips of the audio. It's not me. It's on their end, unfortunately. But just a heads up about that. 20 seconds or so left. Hey, I appreciate that. Thanks, Vegas. Appreciate it, brother. Thank you, sir.
Perfect, and going live in 5, 4, 3.
You're live already, guys. Unless I just got the hook up here. They turned it off. Let's see if they turn it back on.
Good afternoon. My name is Sarah, and I will be your conference operator today. At this time, I would like to welcome everyone to Nvidia's first quarter fiscal 2026 financial results conference call. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. After the speaker's remarks, there will be a question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question during this time, simply press star 1 on your telephone keypad. If you would like to withdraw your question, please press star 1 again. Thank you. Toshiya Hari, you may begin your conference.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to NVIDIA's conference call for the first quarter of fiscal 2026. With me today from NVIDIA are Jensen Huang, President and Chief Executive Officer, and Colette Kress, Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer. I'd like to remind you that our call is being webcast live on NVIDIA's Investor Relations website. The webcast will be available for replay until the conference call to discuss our financial results for the second quarter of fiscal 2026. The content of today's call is NVIDIA's property. It can't be reproduced or transcribed without our prior written consent. During this call, we may make forward-looking statements based on current expectations. These are subject to a number of significant risks and uncertainties, and our actual results may differ materially. For a discussion of factors that could affect our future financial results and business, please refer to the disclosure in today's earnings release, our most recent Forms 10-K and 10-Q, and the reports that we may file on Form 8-K with the Securities and Exchange Commission. All our statements are made as of today, May 28, 2025, based on information currently available to us. Except as required by law, we assume no obligation to update any such statements. During this call, we will discuss non-GAAP financial measures. You can find a reconciliation of these non-GAAP financial measures to GAAP financial measures in our CFO commentary, which is posted on our website. With that, let me turn the call over to Colette.
Thank you, Toshiya. We delivered another strong quarter with revenue of $44 billion, up 69% year over year, exceeding our outlook in what proved to be a challenging operating environment. Data center revenue of $39 billion grew 73% year on year. AI workloads have transitioned strongly to inference, and AI factory buildouts are driving significant revenue. Our customers' commitments are firm. On April 9th, the U.S. government issued new export controls on H20, our data center GPU designed specifically for the China market. We sold H20 with the approval of the previous administration. Although our H20 has been in the market for over a year and does not have a market outside of China, the new export controls on H20 did not provide a grace period to allow us to sell through our inventory. In Q1, we recognized $4.6 billion in H20 revenue, which occurred prior to April 9th, but also recognized a $4.5 billion charge as we wrote down inventory and purchase obligations tied to orders we had received prior to April 9th. We were unable to ship $2.5 billion in H20 revenue in the first quarter due to the new export controls. The $4.5 billion charge was less than what we initially anticipated as we were able to reuse certain materials. We are still evaluating our limited options to supply data center compute products compliant with the U.S. government's revised export control rules. Losing access to the China AI accelerator market, which we believe will grow to nearly $50 billion, would have a material adverse impact on our business going forward and benefit our foreign competitors in China and worldwide. Our Blackwell ramp, the fastest in our company's history, drove a 73% year-on-year increase in data center revenue. Blackwell contributed nearly 70% of data center compute revenue in the quarter, with a transition from Hopper nearly complete. The introduction of GB200 NVL was a fundamental architectural change to enable data center scale workloads and to achieve the lowest cost per inference token. While these systems are complex to build, we have seen a significant improvement in manufacturing yields, and rack shipments are moving to strong rates to end customers. GB200 NVL racks are now generally available for model builders, enterprises, and sovereign customers to develop and deploy AI. On average, major hyperscalers are each deploying nearly 1,000 NVL 72 racks, or 72,000 Blackwell GPUs per week, and are on track to further ramp output this quarter. Microsoft, for example, has already deployed tens of thousands of Blackwell GPUs and is expected to ramp to hundreds of thousands of GB200s with OpenAI as one of its key customers. Key learnings from the GB200 ramp will allow for a smooth transition to the next phase of our product roadmap, Blackwell Ultra. Sampling of GB300 systems began earlier this month at the major CSPs, and we expect production shipments to commerce later this quarter. GB300 will leverage the same architecture, same physical footprint, and the same electrical and mechanical specifications as GB200. The GB300 drop-in design will allow CSPs to seamlessly transition their systems and manufacturing used for GB200 while maintaining high yields. B300 GPUs with 50% more HBM will deliver another 50% increase in dense FP4 inference compute performance compared to the B200. We remain committed to our annual product cadence, with our roadmap extending through 2028, tightly aligned with the multiple year planning cycles of our customers. We are witnessing a sharp jump in inference demand. OpenAI, Microsoft, and Google are seeing a step function leap in token generation. Microsoft processed over 100 trillion tokens in Q1, a 5-fold increase on a year-over-year basis. This exponential growth in Azure OpenAI is representative of strong demand for Azure AI Foundry, as well as other AI services across Microsoft's platform. Inference serving startups are now serving models using B200, tripling their token generation rate and corresponding revenues for high-value reasoning models such as DeepSeek R1, as reported by Artificial Analysis. Nvidia Dynamo on Blackwell NVL72 turbocharges AI inference throughput by 30x for the new reasoning models sweeping the industry. Developer engagements increased, with adoption ranging from LLM providers such as Perplexity to financial services institutions such as Capital One, who reduced agentic chatbot latency by 5x with Dynamo. In the latest MLPerf inference results, we submitted our first results using GB200 NVL72, delivering up to 30x higher inference throughput compared to our 8 GPU H200 submission on the challenging Llama 3.1 benchmark. This feat was achieved through a combination of tripling the performance per GPU as well as 9x more GPUs, all connected on a single NVLink domain. And while Blackwell is still early in its life cycle, software optimizations have already improved its performance by 1.5x in the last month alone. We expect to continue improving the performance of Blackwell through its operational life, as we have done with Hopper and Ampere. For example, we increased the inference performance of Hopper by 4 times over 2 years. This is the benefit of NVIDIA's programmable CUDA architecture and rich ecosystem. The pace and scale of AI factory deployments are accelerating, with nearly 100 NVIDIA-powered AI factories in flight this quarter, a 2-fold increase year over year, with the average number of GPUs powering each factory also doubling in the same period. And more AI factory projects are starting across industries and geographies. NVIDIA's full stack architecture is underpinning AI factory deployments as industry leaders like AT&T, BYD, Capital One, Foxconn, MediaTek, and Telenor are strategically vital sovereign clouds like those recently announced in Saudi Arabia, Taiwan, and the UAE. We have a line of sight to projects requiring tens of gigawatts of NVIDIA AI infrastructure in the not too distant future. The transition from generative to agentic AI capable of perceiving, reasoning, planning, and acting, will transform every industry, every company, and country. We envision AI agents as a new digital workforce capable of handling tasks ranging from customer service to complex decision-making processes. We introduced the Llama Nemotron family of open reasoning models designed to supercharge agentic AI platforms for enterprises. Built on the Llama architecture, these models are available as NIMs or NVIDIA inference microservices with multiple sizes to meet diverse deployment needs. Our post-training enhancements have yielded a 20% accuracy boost and a 5x increase in inference speed. Leading platform companies, including Accenture, Cadence, Deloitte, and Microsoft, are transforming work with our reasoning models. NVIDIA NeMo microservices are generally available across industries and are being leveraged by leading enterprises to build, optimize, and scale AI applications. With NeMo, Cisco increased model accuracy by 40% and improved response time by 10x in its code assistant. NASDAQ realized a 30% improvement in accuracy and response time in its AI platform's search capabilities. And Shell's custom LLM achieved a 30% increase in accuracy when trained with NVIDIA NeMo. NeMo's parallelism techniques accelerated model training time by 20% when compared to other frameworks. We also announced a partnership with Yum Brands, the world's largest restaurant company, to bring NVIDIA AI to 500 of its restaurants this year and expanding to 61,000 restaurants over time to streamline order taking, optimize operations, and enhance service across its restaurants. For AI-powered cybersecurity, leading companies like Checkpoint, CloudStrike, and Palo Alto Networks are using NVIDIA's AI security and software stack to build, optimize, and secure agentic workflows, with CloudStrike realizing 2x faster detection triage with 50% less compute cost. Moving to networking, sequential growth in networking resumed in Q1 with revenue up 64% quarter over quarter to $5 billion. Our customers continue to leverage our platform to efficiently scale up and scale out AI factory workloads. We created the world's fastest switch, NVLink. For scale up, our NVLink compute fabric in its 5th generation offers 14x the bandwidth of PCIe Gen 5. NVLink 72 carries 130 terabytes per second of bandwidth in a single rack, equivalent to the entirety of the world's peak internet traffic. NVLink is a new growth vector and is off to a great start, with Q1 shipments exceeding $1 billion. At Computex, we announced NVLink Fusion. Hyperscale customers can now build semi-custom CCUs and accelerators that connect directly to the NVIDIA platform with NVLink. We are now enabling key partners, including ASIC providers such as MediaTek, Marvell, Alchip Technologies, and Astera Labs, as well as CPU suppliers such as Fujitsu and Qualcomm, to leverage NVLink Fusion to connect our respective ecosystems. For scale out, our enhanced Ethernet offerings deliver the highest throughput, lowest latency networking for AI. Spectrum X posted strong sequential and year-on-year growth and is now annualizing over $8 billion in revenue. Adoption is widespread across major CSPs and consumer internet companies, including CoreWeave, Microsoft Azure, Oracle Cloud, and xAI. This quarter, we added Google Cloud and Meta to the growing list of Spectrum X customers. We introduced Spectrum X and Quantum X silicon photonics switches featuring the world's most advanced co-packaged optics. These platforms will enable next-level AI factory scaling to millions of GPUs through the increasingly power efficiency by 3.5x and network resiliency by 10x while accelerating customer time to market by 1.3x. Transitioning to a quick summary of our revenue by geography. China, as a percentage of our data center revenue, was slightly below our expectations and down sequentially due to H20 export licensing controls. For Q2, we expect a meaningful decrease in China data center revenue. As a reminder, while Singapore represented nearly 20% of our Q1 build revenue, as many of our large customers use Singapore for centralized invoicing, our products are almost always shipped elsewhere. Note that over 99% of H100, H200, and Blackwell data center compute revenue billed to Singapore was for orders from US-based customers. Moving to gaming and AI PCs. Gaming revenue was a record $3.8 billion, increasing 48% sequentially and 42% year on year. Strong adoption by gamers, creatives, and AI enthusiasts have made Blackwell our fastest ramp ever. Against a backdrop of robust demand, we greatly improved our supply and availability in Q1 and expect to continue these efforts in Q2. AI is transforming PC and creator and gamers. With a 100 million user installed base, GeForce represents the largest footprint for PC developers. This quarter, we added to our AI PC laptop offerings, including models capable of running Microsoft's Copilot+. This past quarter, we brought Blackwell architecture to mainstream gaming with its launch of GeForce RTX 5060 and 5060 Ti, starting at just $299. The RTX 5060 also debuted in laptops starting at $1,099. These systems that double the frame rate and slash latency. These GeForce RTX 5060 and 5060 Ti desktop GPUs and laptops are now available. In console gaming, the recently unveiled Nintendo Switch 2 leverages Nvidia's neural rendering and AI technologies, including next-generation custom RTX GPUs with DLSS technology, to deliver a giant leap in gaming performance to millions of players worldwide. Nintendo has shipped over 150 million Switch consoles to date, making it one of the most successful gaming systems in history. Moving to Pro Visualization. Revenue of $509 million was flat sequentially and up 19% year on year. Tariff-related uncertainty temporarily impacted Q1 systems, and demand for our AI workstations is strong, and we expect sequential revenue growth to resume in Q2. Nvidia DGX Spark and Station revolutionized personal computing by putting the power of an AI supercomputer in a desktop form factor. DGX Spark delivers up to 1 petaflop of AI compute, while DGX Station offers an incredible 20 petaflops and is powered by the GB300 superchip. DGX Spark will be available in calendar Q3 and DGX Station later this year. We have deepened Omniverse's integration and adoption into some of the world's leading software platforms, including Databricks, SAP, and Schneider Electric. New Omniverse blueprints, such as Mega for at-scale robotic fleet management, are being leveraged in Kion Group, Pegatron, Accenture, and other leading companies to enhance industrial operations. At Computex, we showcased Omniverse's great traction with technology manufacturing leaders, including TSMC, Quanta, Foxconn, Pegatron. Using Omniverse, TSMC saves months in work by designing fabs virtually. Foxconn accelerates thermal simulations by 150x, and Pegatron reduced assembly line defects rates by 67%. Lastly, with our automotive group, revenue was $567 million, down 1% sequentially, but up 72% year on year. Year on year growth was driven by the ramp of self-driving across a number of customers and robust end demand for NEVs. We are partnering with GM to build the next gen vehicles, factories, and robots using Nvidia AI, simulation, and accelerated computing. And we are now in production with our full stack solution for Mercedes-Benz, starting with the new CLA, hitting roads in the next few months. We announced Isaac, Groot, and One, the world's first open, fully customizable foundation model for humanoid robots, enabling generalized reasoning and skill development. We also launched new open NVIDIA Cosmo World Foundation models. Leading companies include 1X, Agility Robots, Robotics, Figure AI, Uber, and Wabi. We've begun integrating Cosmos into their operations for synthetic data generation, while Agility Robotics, Boston Dynamics, and XPEN Robotics are harnessing Isaac simulation to advance their humanoid efforts. GE Healthcare is using the new NVIDIA Isaac platform for healthcare simulation, built on NVIDIA Omniverse and using NVIDIA Cosmos. The platform speeds development of robotic imaging and surgery systems. The era of robotics is here. Billions of robots, hundreds of millions of autonomous vehicles, and hundreds of thousands of robotic factories and warehouses will be developed. All right, moving to the rest of the P&L. GAAP gross margins and non-GAAP gross margins were 60.5% and 61% respectively. Excluding the $4.5 billion charge, Q1 non-GAAP gross margins would have been 71.3, slightly above our outlook at the beginning of the quarter. Sequentially, GAAP operating expenses were up 7% and non-GAAP operating expenses were up 6%, reflecting higher compensation and employee growth. Our investments include expanding our infrastructure capabilities and AI solutions, and we plan to grow these investments throughout the fiscal year. In Q1, we returned a record $14.3 billion to shareholders in the form of share repurchases and cash dividends. Our capital return program continues to be a key element of our capital allocation strategy. Let me turn to the outlook for the second quarter. Total revenue is expected to be $45 billion, plus or minus 2%. We expect modest sequential growth across all of our platforms. In data center, we anticipate the continued ramp of Blackwell to be partially offset by a decline in China revenue. Note, our outlook reflects a loss in H20 revenue of approximately $8 billion for the second quarter. GAAP and non-GAAP gross margins are expected to be 71.8% and 72% respectively, plus or minus 50 basis points. We expect better Blackwell profitability to drive modest sequential improvement in gross margins. We are continuing to work towards achieving gross margins in the mid-70s range late this year. GAAP and non-GAAP operating expenses are expected to be approximately $5.7 billion and $4 billion, respectively, and we continue to expect full year fiscal year 26 operating expense growth to be in the mid-30% range. GAAP and non-GAAP other income and expenses are expected to be an income of approximately $450 million, excluding gains and losses from non-marketable and publicly held equity securities. GAAP and non-GAAP tax rates are expected to be 16.5%, plus or minus 1%, excluding any discrete items. Further financial details are included in the CFO commentary and other information available on our IR website, including a new financially information AI agent. Let me highlight upcoming events for the financial community. We will be at the B of A Global Technology Conference in San Francisco on June 4th, the Rosenblatt Virtual AI Summit and NASDAQ Investor Conference in London on June 10th, and GTC Paris at VivaTech on June 11th in Paris. We look forward to seeing you at these events. Our earnings call to discuss the results of our second quarter of fiscal 2026 is scheduled for August 27. Well, now let me turn it over to Jensen to make some remarks.
Thanks, Colette. We've had a busy and productive year. Let me share my perspective on some topics we're frequently asked. On export control, China is one of the world's largest AI markets and a springboard to global success. With half of the world's AI researchers based there, the platform that wins China is positioned to lead globally. Today, however, the $50 billion China market is effectively closed to US industry. The H20 export ban ended our Hopper data center business in China. We cannot reduce Hopper further to comply. As a result, we are taking a multi-billion-dollar write-off on inventory that cannot be sold or repurposed. We are exploring limited ways to compete, but Hopper is no longer an option. China's AI moves on with or without US chips. It has the compute to train and deploy advanced models. The question is not whether China will have AI. It already does. The question is whether one of the world's largest AI markets will run on American platforms. Shielding Chinese chip makers from US competition only strengthens them abroad and weakens America's position. Export restrictions have spurred China's innovation and scale. The AI race is not just about chips. It's about which stack the world runs on. As that stack grows to include 6G and quantum, US global infrastructure leadership is at stake. The US has based its policy on the assumption that China cannot make AI chips. That assumption was always questionable, and now it's clearly wrong. China has enormous manufacturing capability. In the end, the platform that wins the AI developers wins AI. Export controls should strengthen US platforms, not drive half of the world's AI talent to rivals. On DeepSeek and QN from China are among the best open source AI models. Released freely, they've gained traction across the US, Europe, and beyond. DeepSeek R1, like ChatGPT, introduced reasoning AI that produces better answers the longer it thinks. Reasoning AI enables step-by-step problem solving, planning, and tool use, turning models into intelligent agents. Reasoning is compute intensive, requires hundreds to thousands of times more tokens per task than previous one-shot inference. Reasoning models are driving a step function surge in inference demand. AI scaling laws remain firmly intact, not only for training, but now inference too requires massive scale compute. DeepSeek also underscores the strategic value of open source AI. When popular models are trained and optimized on US platforms, it drives usage, feedback, and continuous improvement, reinforcing American leadership across the stack. US platforms must remain the preferred platform for open source AI. That means supporting collaboration with top developers globally, including in China. America wins when models like DeepSeek and QN runs best on American infrastructure. Regarding onshore manufacturing, President Trump has outlined a bold vision to reshore advanced manufacturing, create jobs, and strengthen national security. Future plants will be highly computerized and robotics. We share this vision. TSMC is building 6 fabs and 2 advanced packaging plants in Arizona to make chips for Nvidia. Process qualification is underway, with volume production expected by year-end. SPIL and Amkor are also investing in Arizona, constructing packaging, assembly, and test facilities. In Houston, we're partnering with Foxconn to construct a 1 million square foot factory to build AI supercomputers. Wistron is building a similar plant in Fort Worth, Texas. To encourage and support these investments, we've made substantial long-term purchase commitments, a deep investment in America's AI manufacturing future. Our goal, from chip to supercomputer, built in America within a year. Each GB200 NVLink 72 racks contains 1.2 million components and weighs nearly 2 tons. No one has produced supercomputers on this scale. Our partners are doing an extraordinary job. On AI diffusion rule, President Trump rescinded the AI diffusion rule, calling it counterproductive, and proposed a new policy to promote U.S. AI tech with trusted partners. On his Middle East tour, he announced historic investments. I was honored to join him in announcing a 500 megawatt AI infrastructure project in Saudi Arabia and a 5 gigawatt AI campus in the UAE. President Trump wants U.S. tech to lead. The deals he announced are wins for America, creating jobs, advancing infrastructure, generating tax revenue, and reducing the U.S. trade deficit. The U.S. will always be Nvidia's largest market and home to the largest install base of our infrastructure. Every nation now sees AI as core to the next industrial revolution, a new industry that produces intelligence and essential infrastructure for every economy. Countries are racing to build national AI platforms to elevate their digital capabilities. At Computex, we announced Taiwan's first AI factory in partnership with Foxconn and the Taiwan government. Last week, I was in Sweden to launch its first national AI infrastructure. Japan, Korea, India, Canada, France, the UK, Germany, Italy, Spain, and more are now building national AI factories to empower startups, industries, and societies. Sovereign AI is a new growth engine for Nvidia. Toshiya, back to you. Thank you.
Operator, we will now open the call for questions. Would you please poll for questions?
Thank you. At this time, I would like to remind everyone, in order to ask a question, press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. We'll pause for just a moment to compile the Q&A roster. Your first question comes from the line of Joe Moore with Morgan Stanley. Your line is open.
Great, thank you. You guys have talked about this scaling up of inference around reasoning models for at least a year now, and we've really seen that come to fruition as you talked about. We've heard it from your customers. Can you give us a sense for how much of that demand you're able to serve, and give us a sense for maybe how big the inference business is for you guys, and do we need full on NVL72 rack scale solutions for reasoning inference going forward?
Well, we would like to serve all of it. And I think we're on track to serve most of it. Grace Blackwell NVLink 72 is the ideal engine today, the ideal computer thinking machine, if you will, for reasoning AI. There's a couple of reasons for that. The first reason is that the token generation amount, the number of tokens reasoning goes through, is 100, 1,000 times more than a one-shot chatbot. It's essentially thinking to itself, breaking down a problem step by step. It might be planning multiple paths to an answer. It's could be using tools, reading PDFs, reading web pages, watching videos, and then producing a result, an answer. The longer it thinks, the better the answer, the smarter the answer is. And so what we would like to do, and the reason why Grace Blackwell was designed to give such a giant step up in inference performance, is so that you could do all this and still get a response as quickly as possible. Compared to Hopper, Grace Blackwell is some 40 times higher speed and throughput compared. And so this is going to be a huge, huge benefit in driving down the cost while improving the quality of response with excellent quality of service at the same time. So that's the fundamental reason. That was the core driving reason for Grace Blackwell NVLink 72. Of course, in order to do that, we had to reinvent, literally redesign the entire way that these supercomputers are built. But now we're in full production. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be incredibly exciting.
The next question comes from Vivek Arya with Bank of America Securities. Your line is open.
Thanks for the question. Just a clarification for Colette first. So on the China impact, I think previously it was mentioned at about $15 billion. So you had the $8 billion in Q2. So is there still some left as a headwind for the remaining quarters? Just Colette, how to model that. And then question, Jensen, for you. Back at GTC, you had outlined a path towards almost $1 trillion of AI spending over the next few years. Where are we in that build out? And do you think it's going to be uniform, that you will see every spender, whether it's CSP, sovereigns, enterprises, or build out? Should we expect some periods of digestion in between? Just what are your customer discussions telling you about how to model growth for next year?
Yes, Vivek. Thanks so much for the question regarding H20. Yes, we recognized 4.6 H20 in Q1. We were unable to ship 2.5 billion, so the total for Q1 should have been 7 billion. When we look at our Q2 is going to be meaningfully down in terms of China data center revenue. And we had highlighted in terms of the amount of orders that we had planned for H20 in Q2. And that was 8 billion. Now, going forward, we did have other orders going forward that we will not be able to fulfill. That is what was incorporated, therefore, in the amount that we wrote down of the $4.5 billion. That write down was about inventory and purchase commitments. And our purchase commitments were about what we expected regarding the orders that we had received. Going forward, though, it's a bigger issue regarding the amount of the market that we will not be able to serve. We assess that TAM to be close to about 50 billion in the future, as we don't have a product to enable for the China.
Vivek, the probably the best way to think through it is that AI is several things. Of course, we know that AI is this incredible technology that's going to transform every industry. From, of course, the way we do software to healthcare and financial services to, retail to I guess every industry, transportation, manufacturing, and we're at the beginning of that. But maybe another way to think about that is where do we need intelligence? Where do we need digital intelligence? And it's in every country, it's in every industry. And we know because of that, we recognize that AI is also an infrastructure. It's it's a way of developing delivering a technology that requires factories. And these factories produce tokens. And they, as I mentioned, are important to every single industry in every single country. And so on that basis, we're really at the very beginning of it, because the adoption of this technology is really kind of in its early stages. Now, we've reached an extraordinary milestone with AIs that are reasoning, are thinking, what people call inference time scaling. Of course, it created a whole new, we've entered an era where inference is going to be a significant part of the compute workload. But anyhow, it's going to be a new infrastructure, and we're building it out in the clouds. The United States is really the early starter, and available in U.S. clouds, and this is our largest market, our largest installed base, and we're going to continue to see that happening. But beyond that, we're going to see AI go into enterprise, which is on-prem, because so much of the data is still on-prem. Access control is really important. It's really hard to move every company's data into the cloud. And so we're going to move AI into the enterprise. And you saw that we announced a couple of really exciting new products. Our RTX Pro enterprise AI server that runs everything enterprise and AI. Our DGX Spark and DGX Station, which is designed for developers who want to work on-prem. And so enterprise AI is just taking off. Telcos. Today, a lot of the telco infrastructure will be in the future software defined and built on AI. And so 6G is going to be built on AI. And that infrastructure needs to be built out. And it's at its very, very early stages. And then, of course, every factory today that makes things will have an AI factory that sits with it. And the AI factory is going to be creating AI and operating AI for the factory itself, but also to power the products and the things that are made by the factory. So it's very clear that every car company will have AI factories, and very soon there'll be robotics companies, robot companies, and those companies will be also building AIs to drive the robots. And so we're at the beginning of all of this build out.
The next question comes from CJ Muse with Cantor Fitzgerald. Your line is open.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you for taking the question. There have been many large GPU cluster investment announcements in the last month, and you alluded to, a few of them with Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and then also, we heard from Oracle and XAI, just to name a few. So my question, are there other that have yet to be announced of the same kind of scale and magnitude? And perhaps more importantly, how are these orders impacting your lead times for Blackwell and your current visibility sitting here today, almost halfway through 2025?
Well, we have more orders today than we did at the last time I spoke about orders at GTC. However, we're also increasing our supply chain and building out our supply chain. They're doing a fantastic job. We're building it here on shore in the United States, but we're going to keep our supply chain quite busy for many more years coming. And with respect to further announcements, I'm going to be on the road next week through Europe, and it's just about every country needs to build out AI infrastructure, and there umpteen AI factories being planned. I think in the remarks, Colette mentioned there's some 100 AI factories being built. There's a whole bunch that haven't been announced. And I think the important concept here, which makes it easier to understand, is that like other technologies that impact literally every single industry. Of course, electricity was one, and it became infrastructure. Of course, the information infrastructure, which we now know as the internet, affects every single industry, every country, every society. Intelligence is surely one of those things. I don't know any company, industry, country who thinks that intelligence is optional. It's essential infrastructure. And so we've now digitalized intelligence. And so I think we're clearly in the beginning of the build out of this infrastructure. And every country will have it. I'm certain of that. Every industry will use it. That I'm certain of. And what's unique about this infrastructure is that it needs factories. It's a little bit like the energy infrastructure, electricity. It needs factories. We need factories to produce this intelligence. And the intelligence is getting more sophisticated. We were talking about earlier that we had a huge breakthrough in the last couple of years with reasoning AI, and now there are agents that reason, and there's super agents that use a whole bunch of tools, and then there's clusters of super agents where agents are working with agents, solving problems. And so you could just imagine, compared to one-shot chatbots and the agents that are now using AI built on these large language models, how much more compute intensive they really need to be and are. And so I think we're in the beginning of the build out, and there should be many, many more announcements in the future.
Your next question comes from Ben Reitzes with Melius. Your line is open.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the question. I wanted to ask, first to Colette, just a little clarification around the guidance and maybe putting it in a different way. The 8 billion for H20 just seems like, it's roughly 3 billion more than most people thought with regard to what you'd be foregoing in the second quarter. So that would mean that, with regard to your guidance, the rest of the business, in order to hit 45 is doing 2 to 3 billion or so better. So, I was wondering if that math made sense to you. And then, in terms of the guidance, that would imply the non-China business is doing, a bit better than the street expected. So, wondering, what the primary driver was there in your view. And then, this second part of my question, Jensen, I know you guide one quarter at a time, but with regard to the AI diffusion rule being lifted and this momentum with Sovereign, there's been times in your history where you guys have said on calls like this where you have more conviction in sequential growth throughout the year, et cetera. And given the unleashing of demand with AI diffusion being revoked and the supply chain increasing, does the environment give you more conviction in sequential growth as we go throughout the year? So first one for Colette, and then next one for Jensen. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Ben, for the question. When we look at our Q2 guidance and our commentary that we provided, that had the export controls not occurred, we would have had orders of about 8 billion for H20. That's correct. That was a possibility for what we would have had in our outlook for this quarter in Q2. So what we also have talked about here is the growth that we've seen in Blackwell across many of our customers, as well as the growth that we continue to have in terms of supply that we need for our customers. So putting those together, that's where we came through with the guidance that we provided. I'm going to turn the rest over to Jensen to see how he wants to.
Yeah, thanks.
Take this.
Thanks, Ben. I would say compared to the beginning of the year, compared to GTC timeframe, there are 4 positive surprises. The first positive surprise is the step function demand increase of reasoning AI. I think it is fairly clear now that AI is going through an exponential growth, and reasoning AI really busted through. Concerns about hallucination or its ability to really solve problems, and I think a lot of people are crossing that barrier and realizing how incredibly effective agentic AI is and reasoning AI is. So number one is inference reasoning, and the exponential growth there, demand growth. The second one, you mentioned AI diffusion. It's really terrific to see that the AI diffusion rule was rescinded. President Trump wants America to win, and he also realizes that we're not the only country in the race, and he wants United States to win, and recognizes that we have to get the American stack out to the world and have the world build on top of American stacks instead of alternatives. And so AI diffusion happened. The rescinding of it happened at almost precisely the time that countries around the world are awakening the importance of AI as an infrastructure, not just as a technology of great curiosity and great importance, but infrastructure for their industries and startups and society. Just as they had to build out infrastructure for electricity and internet, you got to build out an infrastructure for AI. I think that's an awakening, and that creates a lot of opportunity. The third is enterprise AI. Agents work, and these agents are really quite successful. Much more than generative AI, agentic AI is game changing. Agents can understand ambiguous and rather implicit instructions, and able to problem solve and use tools and have memory and so on. And so I think this is enterprise AI is ready to take off, and it's taken us a few years to build a computing system that is able to integrate, run enterprise AI stacks, run enterprise IT stacks, but add AI to it. And this is the RTX Pro Enterprise server that we announced at Computex just last week. And just about every major IT company has joined us, and I'm super excited about that. And so computing is one stack, one part of it, but remember, enterprise IT is really three pillars. It's compute, storage, and networking. And we've now put all three of them together finally, and we're going to market with that. And then lastly, industrial AI. Remember, one of the implications of the world reordering, if you will, is regions onshoring manufacturing and building plants everywhere. In addition to AI factories, of course, there are new electronics manufacturing, chip manufacturing being built around the world. And all of these new plants and these new factories are creating exactly the right time when Omniverse and AI and all the work that we're doing with robotics is emerging. And so this fourth pillar is quite important. Every factory will have an AI factory associated with it, and in order to create these physical AI systems, you really have to train a vast amount of data. So back to more data, more training, more AIs to be created, more computers, and so these four drivers are really kicking into turbocharge.
Your next question comes from Timothy Arcuri with UBS. Your line is open.
Thanks a lot. Jensen, I wanted to ask about China. It sounds like the July guidance assumes there's no SKU replacement for the H20, but if the president wants the U.S. to win, it seems like you're going to have to be allowed to ship something into China. So I guess I had two points on that. First of all, have you been approved to ship a new modified version into China, and you're currently building it, but you just can't ship it in fiscal Q2? And then you were sort of run rating $7 to $8 billion a quarter into China. Can we get back to those sorts of quarterly run rates once you get something that you're, allowed to ship back into China? I think we're all trying to figure out how much to add back to our models and when. So, whatever you can say there would be great. Thanks.
The president has a plan. He has a vision, and I trust him. With respect to our export controls, it's a set of limits, and the new set of limits pretty much make it impossible for us to reduce Hopper any further, for any productive use. And so the new limits, it's kind of the end of the road for Hopper. We have limited options, and so the key is to understand the limits. The key is to understand the limits and see if we can come up with interesting products that could continue to serve the Chinese market. We don't have anything at the moment, but we're considering it. We're thinking about it. Obviously, the limits are quite stringent at the moment, and we have nothing to announce today. And when the time comes, we'll engage the administration and discuss that.
Your final question comes from the line of Aaron Rakers with Wells Fargo. Your line is open.
Hi, this is Jake on for Aaron. Thanks for taking the question, and congrats on the great quarter. I was wondering if you could give some additional color around the strength you saw within the networking business, particularly around the adoption of your Ethernet solutions at CSPs, as well as any change you're seeing in network attach rates.
Yeah, thank you for that. We now have 3 networking platforms, maybe 4. The first one is the scale up platform, to turn a computer into a much larger computer. Scaling up is incredibly hard to do. Scaling out is easier to do, but scaling up is hard to do. And that platform is called NVLink. And NVLink comes with it chips and switches and NVLink spines, and it's really complicated. But anyways, that's our new platform, scale up platform. In addition to InfiniBand, we also have Spectrum X. We've been fairly consistent that Ethernet was designed for a lot of traffic that are independent. But in the case of AI, you have a lot of computers working together. And the traffic of AI is insanely bursty. Latency matters a lot because the AI is thinking and it wants to get work done as quickly as possible. And you got a whole bunch of nodes working together. And so we enhanced Ethernet, added capabilities like extremely low latency, congestion control, adaptive routing, the type of technologies that were available only in InfiniBand to Ethernet. And as a result, we improved the utilization of Ethernet in these clusters. These clusters are gigantic, from as low as 50% to as high as 85%, 90%. And so the difference is, if you had a cluster that's $10 billion and you improved its effectiveness by 40%, that's worth $4 billion. It's incredible. And so Spectrum X has been really, quite frankly, a home run. And this last quarter, as we said in the prepared remarks, we added 2 very significant CSPs to the Spectrum X adoption. And then the last one is Bluefield, which is our control plane. And so And the control plane of the network, which is used for storage, is used for security, and for many of these clusters that want to achieve isolation among its users, multi-tenant clusters, and still be able to use and have extremely high performance, bare metal performance. Bluefield is ideal for that and is used in a lot of these cases. And so we have these four networking platforms. They're all growing, and we're doing really well. I'm very proud of the team.
Jensen, over to you.
That is all the time we have for questions. Jensen, I will turn the call back to you.
Thank you. This is the start of a powerful new wave of growth. Grace Blackwell is in full production. We're off to the races. We now have multiple significant growth engines. Inference, one's delighted workload, is surging with revenue-generating AI services. AI is growing faster and will be larger than any platform shifts before, including the internet, mobile, and cloud. Blackwell is built to power the full AI lifecycle, from training frontier models to running complex inference and reasoning agents at scale. Training demands continues to rise with breakthroughs in post-training and like reinforcement learning and synthetic data generation. But inference is exploding. Reasoning AI agents require orders of magnitude more compute. The foundations of our next growth platforms are in place and ready to scale. Sovereign AI, nations are investing in AI infrastructure like they once did for electricity and internet. Enterprise AI must be deployable on-prem and integrated with existing IT. Our RTX Pro, DGX Spark, and DGX Station enterprise AI systems are ready to modernize the $500 billion IT infrastructure on-prem or in the cloud. Every major IT provider is partnering with us. Industrial AI, from training to digital twin simulation to deployment, Nvidia Omniverse and Isaac GR00T are powering next-generation factories and humanoid robotic systems worldwide. The age of AI is here. From AI infrastructures, inference at scale, sovereign AI, enterprise AI, and industrial AI. Nvidia is ready. Join us at GTC Paris. I'll keynote at VivaTech on June 11th, talking about quantum GPU computing, robotic factories and robots, and celebrate our partnerships building AI factories across the region. The Nvidia Band will tour France, the UK, Germany, and Belgium. Thank you for joining us at the earnings call today. See you in Paris.
This concludes today's conference call. You may now disconnect.
Okay, guys, so that is the end of Nvidia earnings. Nvidia mostly reacting positively to this earnings call, going up a decent amount. Most companies had decent reactions. Some were kind of back and forth. But yeah, pretty good reaction. Tomorrow we got GDP data. We got unemployment, jobless claims data. Friday we have PCE, inflation, and more. So we got a lot of stuff to cover. Be here or be square tomorrow morning, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow morning, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, we will be live right here on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. GDP data is expected to come in at minus 0.3%. This is the first negative quarter we've seen in a long time. It's an incredibly important report tomorrow at 8:30. It's the first revision data. We also have jobless claims, unemployment, a real up-to-date look at unemployment filings before PCE, inflation on Friday, Michigan data on Friday, consumer sentiment data on Friday, Chicago PMI on Friday, and more. So be ready. We'll cover this bright and early, 8:30 tomorrow morning. Again, if you want to check out our sponsor, check out Top Step. Great way to learn how to day trade when most day traders lose. Just limits your risk, teaches you how to trade in a structured environment. You're risking something, so it's actually really useful because you're still learning how to trade under pressure with some risk, but you're not risking 5, 10, 20, 30 grand like day traders end up doing and losing. So it kind of limits your risk. If you're good enough to pass it, 90% split, you get to keep your first 10K, and they paid out hundreds of millions. Futures market's very similar to day trading stocks. No PDT rule. You can day trade the S&P, the NASDAQ, the Dow, the Russell Gold, some currencies. Again, if you want to check it out, I'll put the link up in chat. You can also see it pinned to the top of the page. Although, again, understand all the stuff on screen. I can't guarantee anything. I love you all. Have a great day. Be here tomorrow, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. And I'll see you guys later. Y'all be good. Have a great day.